What is going on, everybody? It is episode 436 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. You might notice that I am struggling to relax myself in my chair right now, but it's Casual Friday, so we'll see how long this lasts. And also, we have the lovely Libby Emmons on the show today.
Hey, Mary. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
how are you?
Brett.
How you guys doing?
Yeah,
How's everybody doing today?
Yeah.
Doing
This
good?
is a nice
Everything's
crossover
good.
episode.
I love it.
You know?
I love a crossover episode.
It is, right? Because the funny thing is, we're usually getting done right around the time they're doing sound check for IRL. So it's a lot of going up here, then the guests are coming in down there, and a lot of people don't realize that there is a lot of in and out traffic that goes on here because
it's a busy place.
Yeah, there's always people doing stuff everywhere here. So it's going to be fun. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Miley Cyrus has a new song out in which she throws shade at Disney. But I think the real discussion here is me and Mary and me and Libby separately today. Off air, we're talking about just how much the culture has shifted since Miley had her incident with Robin Thicke. Was that 2013?
Crimes were committed against foam fingers everywhere. And it was traumatizing for all involved.
Was that the twerking one? That was twerking at the Grammys?
I feel like that's when most white people were even introduced to the concept.
Right, and then it was immediately cultural appropriation.
Then
we weren't
it was
even supposed to be aware of it.
Taken up by Taylor Swift in the Shake It Off music video. Yeah. And everything's just gone downhill ever since.
So we're going to talk about, what it means for the culture when things have so drastically changed in just a decade. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about UFC fighter Sean O'Malley, who has some very interesting ideas on what it means to be in a monogamous relationship. He essentially says that since he pays for everything in his marriage, he's allowed to cheat.
Well, that's
classy.
not a monogamous relationship.
And the thing is, she has to be monogamous. That's what he says. She has to be monogamous, but he does not. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Dua Lipa, who dyed her eyebrows, which is now the universal sign for "Help me, please." And then
it's a universal cry for help.
Yes.
I love that. That's perfect.
It is. So
I was actually just thinking about that eyebrow girl. Remember the eyebrow girl who was like eyebrows on fleek?
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about that today.
Which didn't that come
eyebrows
from Friday?
Are in the air.
Yeah.
Saying something is on fleek in general came from Friday, and nobody in my generation knew that.
That term is already That term is already come and gone again.
Yeah, it sure has.
Nobody's saying that one again.
Well,
anymore.
Friday it was great.
Which did you know Chris Tucker is in the news recently because he's going back on comedy tour and
finally.
Yeah, I know, right? He's a dude who he made his money and then he's like, I did Rush Hour, I'm good, and he retired. So we're gonna talk about that with Sean O'Malley and Dua Lipa. Also, TikTokers are saying that we need to go on a general strike.
Against everything. We're just striking everything.
What does that even mean?
We're not going to buy anything. We're not going to pay for anything.
Not a rent.
Yeah, we're not going to pay rent.
Oh, it's another one of these, I don't want to pay my rent things.
Yes, but it's everything. It's if we're the people, we've got the power. So we're going to talk about
striking against just being a human in general.
The man.
Well, like those bed rot people?
We're striking against adulting.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not even really a thing. It's just being older and having to take care of your own shit.
Well, they're tired of it.
That term is probably one of the greatest signs that we've infantilized the culture when they've turned it into a term like that where it's
like a kink. Adulting is like some kind of kink.
It's like, tell me about how you like to pay your bills.
It's like the people who are doing business core now this fall. Have you seen that? The business.
Wait, what?
Yeah, business core. It's this new fashion thing where you do
business casual?
No, it's not business casual. It's business core, like Barbie core.
Okay.
But business core. And it kind of makes everybody look like they're wearing David Byrne's giant suit, if you guys remember from Talking Heads.
So,
which is very...
Okay.
So it's over the top.
It's over the top.
Okay.
It's like extra shoulder pads. Like a
you know
much
what? I think Dua Lipa
suit.
is wearing that.
Yes,
really?
In this photo shoot.
Okay.
Yes.
So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. But before we get started, guys, would you hit the like button on this video? Would you subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Thank you very much for that. Remember, all super chats $20 and over. If you have a question or a comment or any such thing you would like to direct to me, to Mary, to Libby, we will interrupt the discussion. We will read those chats right then and there, and then we will do our very best to get back on topic. So if you ladies are ready, we will just get right started. Mary, are you ready?
Yes. Let's go.
Libby.
Sure thing.
Let's do this. All right, first things first, I do have a sad announcement that I know a bunch of people messaged me about earlier and wanted to know if I was going to mention it. Bray Wyatt, who was a WWE superstar, a very, very talented one, has passed away at the age of 36. He had a heart attack, and this is sad for me because, look, I loved wrestling growing up. It was a big thing for me. That's fine, but I fell out of it when I, got older, and he was one of the reasons why I started to like the art form of wrestling again. He was very, very gifted at performance. He was very, very gifted at the art of reinvention, which is very important in that industry. You can't play the same character for 20 years. You have to be able to mold and change with the times, and it's really, really sad to see. He had a wife. He had 2 kids, and he was
terrible.
He was only 36.
A friend of mine was telling me actually that was his friend, and he was very upset that he had lost his friend.
Knew him.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, and then Terry Funk passed away yesterday. And what it is now is like back in the day, it was it wasn't shocking when wrestlers died because the 80s was full of cocaine and heroin and painkillers. Sure. Now, a lot of these young wrestlers grew up at a time where they're drug testing regularly, and they're much, much more.
Oh, is that part of it? You have to be drug tested?
Yeah, because WWE is a publicly traded company, and they do have to worry about image. And a lot of what they do isn't just the wrestling. They have brand deals. They have to go and do all these extra promotional things. They can't just be, going 100 miles an hour for 300 days a year. There, she finally got that. Fun, right?
Yeah.
You get used to it.
Yeah.
You can't just be going, 100 miles an hour, 300 days a year just for the wrestling. You have to be more than that. So they're strict about that stuff now. So to see younger wrestlers die is a lot sadder.
Yeah.
Not sadder, but like it's more shocking to me.
Right.
When you expect them to have been taking care of themselves better. So
people are, of course, asking if he died suddenly.
I'm not going to entertain that. Like, I'm not going to.
It's not really important.
Not important.
Anyway,
yeah, he did have a heart attack. I don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, turn it on to that. That's for somebody else to talk about. It's just really, really sad for his family and for the industry because you don't want to see anybody who you grew up loving to watch or at any point in your career liked watching their work of them. And it would happen with your favorite actors.
No, it's terrible.
It's just not good.
Yeah, so. And it's never good to leave your kids behind like that.
Yeah,
that's sort of my worst fear.
So rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. It's very sad. Also, guys, Dune Part 2 has been delayed till 2024 because of the strikes. I'm actually surprised because Oppenheimer's made like $800 million.
Yeah, but Oppenheimer was already done. It was in the can.
Yeah.
Before the strike, wasn't it?
This movie's done and made, but it was supposed to come out in like November, and it's just been postponed now. So it's not like they have to wait to finish production.
Maybe all of these stupid interviews that come out for press for these movies aren't actually important for making money.
Yeah, that they don't matter
at all.
No, they actually sort of harm things. You know, like look at Rachel Zegler and Snow White. Nobody wants to see that now. Nobody even wants to see it show up. Breathing
a sigh of relief just because the strike has like put a gag order on her insanity.
Yeah, she's nuts. What a terrible thing. But yeah, the writer strike is absolutely ludicrous. These people are going out on strike. They have all of these grievances about AI, and what they're really showing us is that there's plenty of content and culture.
Yeah.
Nobody needs these writers. No one needs the work that they're doing.
I mean, all of these streaming services have endless old shows that you can watch anyways.
There's so much. We could all just go back and watch stuff from the 1930s if we're really hard up.
Most people just go to Netflix to watch comedy specials anyways.
Comedy specials are the most interesting thing in culture right now.
Yeah.
Because those are the only people who actually speak their mind.
Yeah, it feels that way, right? Or at least the ones that do so while getting a little bit of a pass. Dave Chappelle oddly doesn't get a pass. He becomes a big issue whenever he does it because he's so relevant, though.
Right, but that's because everybody, he's funny. That's why.
It's certain comedians. It's not comedy specials in general. Because if I just click on a random Netflix comedy special by someone I haven't heard of before, it's just some cheeky, like, stupid libtard voice that they use.
Like that Australian lesbian lady.
Yeah.
Like, she's awful. What's her? I forget her name. She's terrible.
Now.
I also saw something earlier. I think Clownfish TV reported on it that like they offered writers were offered like $10,000 a week for like 9 weeks of work or something like that, for like 9 or 10 weeks of work for like the making of their shows and stuff like that, and they turned it down.
During the strike or before?
Like in the most recent offer that was given, they turned it down.
Well,
seriously?
It's about AI, right? That's like their main concern because they know that they could be replaced.
And
in journalism, we look at that too. You know, people can write with ChatGPT or whatever.
And they want residuals from shows that don't have ratings.
Yeah. Right.
I wrote a couple of op-eds for Timcast and like just just to see what would happen, Chris like put them through ChatGPT. He put the subject matter that I was talking about through ChatGPT, and it found like 3 examples that I totally should have like included in there.
Really?
I was like, damn it!
That's really funny.
That upset me. I was like, the damn computer is smarter than me, and I'm not having it right now. I wasn't happy with that.
I have not figured out how to use ChatGPT, so I can write way faster.
You have to be
anyway.
Understand how to use the prompts.
Yeah,
and be specific.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I have the same issue with Midjourney.
But if you're talented enough to write, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just do it fast.
Just do it yourself.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Justin Bieber has left Scooter Braun. This is allegedly, right?
Not
Allegedly.
officially. He allegedly is in a contract with Scooter Braun that lasts until 2027, but is fighting with his lawyers to get out of this deal. It's alleged that Justin canceled his tour due to health concerns when he had Ramsay Hunt syndrome. Half of his face was paralyzed. And Scooter Braun is demanding full compensation for that tour that got canceled. So that's why Justin Bieber allegedly wants to get out of this management contract that is going to last until 2027 if he can't.
Yeah.
And then I just saw that Carly Rae Jepsen also broke their business relationship, but every time that a new headline comes out, someone that's dropped Scooter Braun, other sources say that that's not actually true, so I don't know what to believe anymore.
What's the problem with Scooter Braun?
Well, I mean, Taylor Swift and her fan base have really poisoned the entire internet against him.
Okay, it's that guy.
So the news that people like Demi Lovato, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, these big stars are dropping Scooter Braun, if they are, we don't know. It's really delighting the Swifties. It's just, it might be something they're blowing out of proportion because Scooter Braun was allowing these contracts to expire anyway so that he can step into roles as a CEO at Hybe Entertainment, which runs BTS, the K-pop group. And now all the BTS stans are freaking out. They're like, we don't want Scooter Braun to take advantage of our K-pop group.
Actually,
I think he's just a businessman and he's not evil or good. He's just... he does business.
Taylor Swift fans and K-pop stans uniting is probably the scariest thing in the history of the world.
Really? Why? What does that look like?
Which one is scarier?
BTS.
I feel like the BTS
I think
stans
the
are
BTS
scarier.
people are pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to piss off those types of people. First of all, they're already a little bit... I don't like the term maladjusted, but when you identify that heavily with people you've never met, with something like that, they're already
especially
a bit
as
weird.
an adult,
and they lean into harassment online. Like
the BTS people harass you online, really?
Yeah. I mean, the Swifties too. I know this was for later in the intro topics, but now Olivia Rodrigo is getting hate because she hinted that she doesn't plan on going to Taylor Swift's Eras tour.
And that's bad.
She's getting hate for not going to the...
Yeah. She was in a New York Times interview, and they asked her, do you plan on going to the Eras tour? Have you gone to the Eras tour yet? And she said, I haven't yet. I'm going to Europe next week. And then she just changed the subject and move on to something else because she wants to talk about her career and not somebody else's.
Sure.
And now the Swifties are freaking out, saying, she's taken advantage of Taylor Swift's clout for her own career and bounced. One person said, the way she worded it is simply rude. She could have said not yet or still didn't, but the way she said it seems like I haven't and what about it? I don't give an F about Olivia, but I won't bear if anyone disrespects Taylor like this.
They're creepy.
Yeah.
They're really creepy.
So everyone in the world is supposed to go to this concert? That's the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose is the guy, I guess the male comparison would be your local sports team.
Another thing is I feel like she has a valid reason to be mad at Taylor if she is, because Taylor Swift has Sabrina Carpenter opening for her tour in Europe. And Sabrina Carpenter she notoriously stole Olivia Rodrigo's boyfriend when they were on Disney Channel together.
Oh my goodness.
I know all the lore.
I was gonna say, how do you keep all this stuff in your brain?
So I think Taylor Swift actually chose Sabrina Carpenter to open for her on that tour, on that leg of the tour, just to get back at Olivia Rodrigo. That's what I think.
It's probably
She's
true.
a snake.
That's really in the weeds.
Yeah. I don't know how you remember. She remembers all the. She's like, you remember when this person did this to this person? I'm like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
It's my woman brain. I'm supposed to remember like all of the small infractions.
This is why you don't tell your woman when you're.
guilty
This
of.
is why you don't be 100% honest with your women, ladies or gentlemen. I'm just kidding. Don't be honest with ladies, but don't always share your emotions because they will use it against you. Because she will have.
Will women use it against you?
Does
that really happen?
I don't know. Fresh and Fit were on the culture war today. We should ask them.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Right now, Barbie is being released on IMAX, or it's coming up, and they're going to do a re-release on September 22nd, so you can see.
Why would you need to
I
see
have no
Barbie in
idea
IMAX?
why.
It's going to be in IMAX?
In IMAX, yeah.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah, with an
That's a
extended
really
scene
big
at the
dream
end.
house. Oh, an extended scene at the end?
Yeah.
Wait, are we going to see Barbie on the table in the stirrups with the gynecological appointment?
I hope not. It
Are we
says an
gonna
extended
pull out the
dance
speculum?
scene.
Is that what we're doing? Oh, is it going to be like a gynecological dance?
I hope
I
not.
did not want to think about that.
Right? But that's the last scene. She's standing there at her doctor's
About to get
office.
an abortion or something.
Well, she's about to like get an exam, which I guess means she no longer has plastic panties covering her, bottom area. But
Did you go see it?
It just seems like a bit much. No, I downloaded a burner copy.
Yes. Okay then. What did you think?
I wasn't a huge fan of it, mostly because I did not like the kind of empowerment that was being essentially doubled down on by this whole Hollywood infrastructure. At the end, she's at her doctor's office, and that's empowering. She tells Ken to go find himself and not find love, which apparently not love is empowering. And I don't think that that's really accurate. I think in a lot of ways, women have been sold a false bill of goods on what is important. And I think it's a shame, because I think what it ends up with is women who are middle-aged and depressed, like that Kanye song where he's like, how many of you are here with no spouse? Like that is a sad situation for a lot of people. And if you don't know that it's going to be a sad situation, if you are led to believe that you're going to be, snuggled to sleep at night by your corporate job, you're just going to end up sad.
It does feel like they try to, these days, Hollywood works really hard to paint the idea of love as naive.
Which I don't think it is. I think love is, of course, the most powerful thing that there is. We saw this with the whole Snow White thing as well, which I haven't seen the film because it's not out yet, but which I find really disturbing. This idea that instead of true love, she's going to go seek power. Well, the Wicked Queen is already the character who seeks power in that story. We don't need a heroine seeking power. The heroine is supposed to seek something bigger than power, something better. Something more lasting, something perhaps like love, so I find that to be a troubling situation, leading women to push love aside. Where I don't know how it was for you, Mary, when you were a kid, but when I would like play with my friends and I would play Barbies and whatever, we would talk about what we wanted our lives to be like. And when we were talking about, we wanted to be astronauts, or we wanted to be writers, or we wanted to be whatever else, we also talked about wanting to have relationships. That was a big part of it. My friends in middle school were substantially boy crazy.
Why do you think the Ken dolls existed?
Right. Right.
Maybe the dance scene will be a Knuff extended dance scene. Maybe
That'd be
that's
great.
That's what it should be. He was the star of that movie anyways.
Can we have a Ken director's cut where it's just the Ken scenes?
That would be really wild.
There are things that there was. I remember when Avengers Endgame came out and somebody re-edited the whole movie without any of the female. Like they got rid of the whole female empowerment scene at the end of Avengers Endgame, and they just cut it out and removed
I don't
it
even
from the
remember
movie.
that.
Yeah. So they just cut it out, get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there. You could do that. So we could do that. Also, guys, they did a poll, and it says 90% of Americans know about Barbie, but Democrats are twice as likely as Republicans to go see the movie. That makes perfect sense. At least all the
This I
guys at the
didn't
theater that I
understand.
went to looked like Democrats.
I didn't understand because I saw a map of like which states were watching Barbie the most, at least in the first couple of weeks, and the red states were overrepresented. But I feel like the results of this poll are just because women are more likely to be Democrats, therefore
They're going to the
women are
movie.
the audience of the Barbie movie.
I saw a lot of. I mean, when we went to see the movie, it was mostly groups of girls or girls with guys that looked miserable to be there, or at least like they were
They
like.
did. I think that the guys were happy enough to.
The ones
to
who
be
dressed
there.
up in pink because their girlfriends told them to, maybe, but the rest of them.
Ooh, that's rough.
We covered a story where like a lady broke up with her boyfriend because he wouldn't wear pink for the Barbie movie.
They broke up over that. Over
Yeah.
that. Over
It was
him not-
ending relationships. Yeah, there were a lot of
Well, that
girls
was
saying
like-
like they broke up with their boyfriends after watching Barbie because they realized that they deserve better than
Oh, come on.
men who don't sympathize with their struggles under the patriarchy.
There's this idea too that when you go into a relationship, you're both supposed to come fully formed into the relationship and all, finished cooking as adults or whatever. And the idea is you're supposed to grow together. You're supposed to embark on the journey together. You're not supposed to like show up and be like, I'm all perfect and so are you, and now we're gonna march into the future like some weird Obama commercial. Like, that's not what it's about.
Yeah, but if your existence is totally narcissistic and solipsistic, like what would be the point
Right.
of growing with anyone?
But also, like, we are now more focused on our own identity than we probably ever were. Well, like, the idea of, like, who you were was an abstract concept for a long time, where it's like, you kind of thought about it, but not really. Like, you just kind of lived, and who you were was up to what you might have, what you might think of yourself when you laid your head on your pillow at the end of the night, and then
Right.
what other people made their assumptions of you that you can't control. Now, we actively, critically think about what our identity is obsessively.
To
in
the point
culture.
where we demand that other people refer to us in specific ways, even when we're not there.
Exactly.
Which is so crazy. Like, that's what pronouns are. When I'm not here, you have to talk about me in this very specific way. No, like, that's ludicrous.
You can't even think the wrong
You
pronouns.
can't
about
even
me.
think. There was a TikTok clip, actually, that I saw on Twitter this morning that was a person complaining about when people use preferred pronouns incorrectly. And I'm like, okay, so the grammatically totally wrong thing now has its own way.
Interior
Right,
logic. and
ludicrous.
grammar, Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite is this one where it's this girl. She's like, she's like, of course, she's a coffee shop worker. She's like, I was giving somebody coffee. They're like, oh yeah, what are your pronouns? You kind of look like a they, them. And she goes, and
remember
they were
this.
right. But I was mad that they were right. And then it cuts to a lady who's like, what do you want?
Right.
Say wrong pronouns, bad. Say right pronouns, bad. What the hell do you want? It's amazing, right? But that's narcissism. That's an extremely narcissistic
It's total
culture.
narcissism. And it is the selfie culture. It's like, only look at me from the outside. People only look at themselves from the outside too. It's like when you talk to people, when somebody's like deciding to try and change sex or whatever, it's all about the appearance. There's no like added physical sensation to becoming trans. There's only
mean, if-
taking away physical sensation.
If we're being brutally honest, that's why they want transition for children anyway. It's because it makes them passing when they're
Right.
later into adulthood, and not just passing, but more vulgar. I mean, makes them more affable to the people who have weird
Yeah.
fetishes for that type of person.
And that's what they say
It's
too.
really sick.
That's what a lot of the doctors who advocate for child sex changes
Yeah.
say, is so that when they're adults, they are they pass better.
Yeah.
But like, that's not like the way you are perceived by others is not a good enough reason to undergo this kind of, total destruction and mutilation.
Yeah, it's
Speaking of which, Carlos Santana
Oh,
has now
yeah.
been
You-
smeared as anti-trans for saying a woman is a woman and a man is a man.
You tweeted about this, right? saw
I
you
tweeted about this. Yeah, we ran a story about how he made these comments and then walked it back, and then we updated the story because he deleted the post.
The
so
walk
it
back?
looked like another
did
one
a
of
Neo.
those Neo
Yeah.
situations where he was like, "No, publicist, I'm not on board with your craziness."
There's a $20 one right there from Baron of Gray Matter.
He said, "Greetings, Mary and Brett. Great to see Libby on the show. Great
Hello.
insight. Libby, please turn your ire and focus, not now, on the do-nothing Republicans. No more strongly worded letters. Have a great weekend."
Thanks.
And they really are do nothing. That's the long and the short of it. That's my favorite part of watching all this stuff happen, because I'm like, nothing changes.
Well, my
ever.
favorite part is the Trump edits.
Yeah. Well, now that mugshot's fake.
I don't
that
even care.
mugshot was- his
Master
mugshot
of
was fake.
propaganda.
No, they did a new one.
But I'm saying the one that they were posting last night was fake.
Oh, that's because they really wanted the mugshot out. They really wanted it out.
was so
and then
good.
CNN leaked it and it was finally out.
It's so good.
I ordered Trump mugshot t-shirts.
So they did actually.
And I asked my son, I was like, do you want a Trump mugshot t-shirt? And he was like, yeah, I kind of do.
They actually took that photo in the jail.
They took
Like,
the
that's a
photo
real-
in the jail, yes.
Okay.
My favorite was the one of him putting up the blood sign on the edit of him
I
putting
like
up blood.
the thing.
Just like
the
super
fingers.
tiny fingers. Right.
But like that whole thing is crazy because now it really is universal. Like my Instagram is not political. It's not meant to be. That's mostly, it's all skating content on there. So I have friends from across the spectrum that believe all sorts of different things, and everyone's posting the mugshot, and whether they like Trump or hate him, they're all posting it and liking it. So
Right, because it, like, whether you think it owns Trump, you like it. Whether you think it sort of makes him badass, you
They
like
love
it.
him. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
he's just the guy that they don't realize that they need to have in their lives. They've just been conditioned to think otherwise.
I was watching old clips of him on Letterman, and it was great.
Yeah.
And then I was watching Roseanne on Arsenio Hall with Whitney Houston, also great.
It's there's some amazing videos of him in like the late 80s where he called China like back in the 80s saying like if we don't deal with this problem now, if we don't deal with North Korea now, it's going to be a problem for our children's children down the line. And he still talked the same back then too, same voice.
When he was a Democrat.
Great guy. He's an orange Democrat. He wasn't as orange back then though, I will say that. He's more orange now. Maybe it was the lighting back then.
But you have to lean into people's stereotypes of you.
Yeah.
That's something he's an expert at.
So Carlos Santana, he walked back and now he's deleted the walk back. But Alice Cooper also made comments today before.
Yeah.
We're gonna basically have a segment here where it says like old person says this because we love them. They're rock stars from a previous generation, but
We're not surprised.
they don't understand the way the internet works, and some of them lean into it. And like Alice Cooper, I believe.
Alice Cooper is 75 years
Exactly.
old.
Like he's not necessarily aware of what the backlash is going to be for saying this
Well,
stuff.
he already
like-
got canceled. He had a makeup deal.
That's
They were
what-
going
yeah.
to do like
Yeah.
a makeup line with Vampire
Cosmetics.
And they canceled him for that.
But they canceled the collaboration and then deleted their entire account afterwards.
They did?
Yeah.
They deleted. I screenshotted a bunch of stuff.
Vampire Cosmetics has deleted their account.
On
Yeah.
Twitter, their Twitter account.
It says, in light of recent
They're still on
statements
Instagram,
by Alice Cooper, we will no longer be doing a makeup collaboration. We stand with all members of the LGBTQIA plus community and believe everyone should have access to health care. All pre-order sales will be refunded.
You know what? The other thing too, though, is on their website they talk about how you're beautiful just the way you are, and I feel like that should be amended to "you're beautiful just the way you are," unless you feel that you need to take drugs and mutilate your body in order to be your true self.
There you go.
Because that's
Beautiful
what
the
that
way
means.
you are, unless you're not.
Unless you're just gross and therefore need to be completely surgically reconstructed.
In which case, the medical industrial complex loves it because they get to make endless money off of you for a lifetime. I mean, that's what most of this stuff. Cynically looking at it now, I don't even look at it as much in the sense of strictly culture. Like a lot of people, like it's cultural Marxism. It's wanting to destroy the West. I just see greedy, like, medical companies
sure.
that just want to keep you
It's
on
like
their
the
meds for
handshake meme between like the medical industrial complex and the cosmetics business.
I was watching
Right? That's interesting.
like watching things the other day. I was watching an old episode of something and they were talking about like how quick doctors are to prescribe meds, right? And
Right.
I experienced that growing up. That was very common for me. And you would be shamed for not wanting to take them in a
Right?
lot
Don't
of respects.
you want to be healthy?
Exactly. I mean,
Take
that,
your Zoloft.
as I say, antidepressants was the biggest one for that. Like my parents put me on antidepressants when I was younger, cheeked every single one of them, didn't want to do it, gave it an actual shot in my early 20s, and then realized that there was just other changes that needed to be made that had nothing to do with it. But they weren't looking for the underlying cause or what was actually wrong with me. What they wanted was to keep. Now, I'm not saying that my doctor wanted this. But the people that influenced them, right?
Right.
All of the pharmacies and all of the medical companies that send their employees by to hawk new drugs to them.
And they do that. They the pharmaceutical reps go to the doctor's offices and they bring whole lunches.
Yep.
They bring these, like, I used to work at a doctor's office and I was like filing back when there was paper. I used to file things. And they would bring like these whole lunches. They would set it out for the whole staff. And then the pharmaceutical reps would be like, "Can you get the doctors in here?" And we'd just all be sitting there like, "You brought sandwiches. I'm going to eat the sandwich. I don't know what you want."
Also,
Or like Mary Kay selling.
I don't know if it's
pharmaceuticals.
still like that, but there is no body positivity in the pharmaceutical sales industry because all the women are smoking hot in pharmaceutical sales.
Really?
At least they used to be.
I don't remember any women in the
all
coming
of
through,
the
but-
used to be a lot of women, and they were all very, very attractive there to hawk drugs to people. So
I guess it works as a marketing tactic.
it does. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and I put a poll up today. I was just curious, guys. I asked you guys, are you guys watching Ahsoka? I almost said Osaka. Are you watching Ahsoka? If so, yes. If so, no. And then also, do you? And the third option was, do you hate Disney? Oddly enough, do you hate I hate Disney is not winning right now. Just a simple no is winning. So apparently, people don't hate Disney.
They don't hate Disney. They're just indifferent, which is worse for Disney at this point.
Everyone would prefer that you're
Like, people are done
invested.
hate watching. Yeah. They're just done watching.
Now they go to YouTubers for them to hate watch and then comment on it. There's a $20 one there from Baron of Gray Matter.
He said, new trend on TikTok and Instagram is folks from the hood showing new respect for Trump because of his jail street cred. It's backfiring on the left. Hilarious videos abound.
I saw some of those in Atlanta. People were like, you know,
Really?
a bunch of Atlantans were out going free Trump as he was, as his presidential motorcade was driving through a neighborhood that had never once seen a presidential motorcade. Right?
That's awesome.
He's a man of the people.
Wild. Now he's kind of a man of the people.
And they just,
and a lot of Americans have been arrested. You know, I remember taking polls just around among my guy friends, and it was like all of them had been arrested.
or at least spent a night in jail.
Or something. You
Maybe
know,
not a mugshot,
Maybe not
but-
a mugshot, but like they've had encounters with law enforcement.
You've been in the drunk tank at least
And
on
they look
one
at they look at
Saturday.
Trump and they go, "That's literally me."
Right.
It's my
He's
guy.
literally me.
It's my guy.
Maybe I could be president too someday.
It's perfect. Wait, does him being arrested affect his eligibility? It doesn't affect his
Only if
eligibility.
he's convicted of a felony.
Okay.
Right, but that doesn't stop a lot of like the New York Times, I think, and the Atlantic from saying that he should be barred from running due to the 14th Amendment anyway. They're saying that regardless of there not having been yet a conviction, that perhaps this should be enough. But no, it's not enough. They're going to try and make it enough. They really want him off the ballot.
The New York crimes.
Right.
All right, what would you ladies like to see? Cute of the day or cringe of the day first?
What do you think?
I like a cute of the
Let's
day.
go with
Okay,
cute
we
first.
got two cute of the days today. We had one submission giving us two videos here. Let's go ahead and watch these real quick. This is from Cam V on Twitter. He says, my submission for cute of the day, 3-month-old Scotty hanging out with his big brother Debo. Here we go.
Aw,
That is adorable.
he's so tiny.
Oh, that is really cute.
It kind of makes me think of like Dingo and Hazel.
Yeah.
Dingo is very, very, very slow in his movements, and Hazel is very, very fast and fervent. You know,
Hazel
and
is like a
feverish.
fawn.
Yeah.
She's got those fawn legs.
We got one more here. Same person sent in another one. He says, 3-month-old Scotty playing with his older brother Debo. So he sent another video, or is this the same
I think
video?
it's the
with it?
same one.
But it's got a different tag on there. This one says,
Oh, okay.
God, they are so cute. And this one says, they are so cute together.
I guess he just felt really strongly about it.
There we go.
Cute.
That is adorable. And we get a lot of cats here, so it's good to see some dog submissions.
We get a lot of everything.
Guys, if you have...
Iguanas, guinea pigs,
Guinea
gerbils,
pigs aren't that
raccoons.
cute. Raccoons are only cute on surveillance camera.
It's a tough crowd. Tough crowd.
But we get a lot of cats for cute today. Guys, tag me in your submissions, and it's hashtag PCC Pets if you'd like them to be featured on here. So thank you very much for that. All right, let's go to Cringe of the Day. This one fits with the Barbie theme that was just here just a second ago.
This girl decided to go outside of her ex-boyfriend's house and perform "Not Your Barbie Girl" by Ava Max.
Oh dear.
My
In a dress with the price tag still attached.
watching.
No, you can't touch my body.
That's really a shame.
Girl, he already decided that he doesn't want to touch your body.
Right? It's over.
It's the SSRIs talking.
Now she's on her way to return that dress.
She is. Yeah, she's
It's not even sweaty or
That
anything.
song was never it. That song was never a serve.
And then I like the comments. They're like, good. Like
Yeah.
half the time they're like, and then, but you know, there's at least one. They're like, you go, girl. If that was still a thing.
Is that still a thing?
That's not a thing anymore.
Okay.
Well,
If it's your ex-husband, maybe you can direct this kind of hateful energy. Yeah.
Only if you're the one that left.
But like,
And if you are the one that
boyfriend?
left, why do you still care? Why are you doing that?
Good point.
That's kind of like when people like that's a big trend on like TikTok and Instagram. It's like it's videos telling people how much you don't care about other people's opinions. It's like and it's like them dancing, and it's just saying like not caring what the haters say, like not caring so much that you made a video about it. So you
Right.
very clearly do care.
Like Dylan Mulvaney was always doing that.
Yes.
Talking about the haters.
Is Dylan Mulvaney? He was like trying out for Broadway again, right?
Yep.
Well, that's the whole point,
That's
is
the
to
career
like
pivot.
get an acting,
Yeah.
like a proper acting gig. That's the entire point of the undertaking. Because that's what he was trying to do before.
This Barbie is an activist.
Yeah.
I mean, if Barbie was still waiting to come out, he would have ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Disney should have done a Dylan Mulvaney movie, don't you think?
They could do that. I mean, they still could.
Yeah.
Whenever they get back from the strike, and they can
Right.
have Dylan Mulvaney write the movie
Please
too.
tell me they will learn something from the strike.
Wait, so if Dylan Mulvaney is SAG, then can't he not take any jobs anyway?
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
Broadway theatrical employees are different. like
Right.
a different union.
Yeah, but he still.
I mean,
would
your
be-
equity, you're like, it's Actors Equity is the Broadway one. But a lot of the Actors Equity people are still SAG.
And it doesn't matter
Yes.
because you'll be judged either way because they're all lunatics who need you to fall in line, right? They're like telling people in other unions that have nothing to do with what they're doing to get in line and to start
Well, and
protesting.
what's funny is that Congress passed an act, decades ago, way back in the 20th century, called Taft-Hartley, which bans sympathy strikes.
Oh, so you can't strike on behalf of
You
another
can't strike on
union.
behalf of another union. It's called a sympathy strike, and it's against the rules. It's back when the Congress was trying to do a lot of union
I
busting.
was gonna say union busting.
But
Let's
there-
go.
yeah, but there it is.
I'll tell you what, like one of the saddest things is like there's a lot of like good Twitter accounts to follow that just keep you updated on what's going on in Hollywood right now, or like in Hollywood, like as far as like movie release dates.
They're like
this
all
actor-
run by the same person.
Are they really?
Probably, but
Pop tings, pop bass.
no, I'm not even talking that. You're talking like industry
Film
people.
updates.
I'm talking like discussing film.
Discussing
and
film.
like it's just
But like
all
Deadline or something.
all I'm looking for is like release dates for movies. Has something been pushed or something like that? Info-based ones, right? But they make like ones about the strike, and oh boy, you better not go into those and say anything negative because the people in those are very, very fervent, and they you better say exactly what you want them to say. Otherwise, you're a bad person. They were all mocking Stephen Amell when he just said one slightly negative thing about the
No,
unions.
what he said was like, I don't enjoy striking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't personally feel joy while I am striking.
Well, why would
they
anyone
were
feel
like,
joy? You're out there.
No, you have to enjoy it the entire time.
I don't want you to.
While you comply, you must also rejoice at complying.
And wasn't there that guy who's what's his name, Billy whatever, who always wears his dresses to the Grammys?
Porter?
Yeah, Billy Porter. Didn't he like lose his penthouse or something in New York because he can't afford the mortgage?
So he claims.
So he claims.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't need you.
You don't
to
think he did? You don't think
I-
it's real?
I think, he shouldn't have been living paycheck to paycheck anyway.
Well,
So
not if you
that's
have like a
personal-
$1 million home.
Yeah, that
like
was
that's not a
taking that
yeah.
loan was a personal choice. It
so
was a
you're-
choice.
good point. It's a really good
Stephen
point.
Amell was Vince Vaughn from that movie, and the SAG is like, I don't want you to go on strike. I want you to want to go on
Yes,
strike.
exactly.
We did this story. The
It's
other
Jennifer
day.
Aniston. She's like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point.
Where Jennifer Aniston in this movie says like, she goes, she's like, I want you to do the dishes, and he's like, fine, I'll do the dishes. He goes, I don't want you to do them now. I want you to want to do them. Because-
Nobody wants to do the dishes.
Exactly.
That's what he said in the
Yeah.
movie.
the whole point. And then so Stephen Amell's like, nobody wants to go on strike.
No,
They're
of
like,
course not.
I want you to want to go on strike. You have to love it that way.
Exactly.
All right, now that we are 40 minutes in, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right in. There we go. See that? We have a thing where they make fun of me for the fact that every
How long
time
does it take us to actually jump right in?
to jump right in.
Oh, yeah.
So we're jumping right in now, ladies and gentlemen. Mary, tell us what's going on with Miley Cyrus.
Today, Miley Cyrus has released a song called Used to Be Young, and coincidentally, she released it on the 10-year anniversary of the day that she did her infamous VMAs performance, the same day also that she released Wrecking Ball. And her VMAs performance, I remember it because it was at a time in the culture when celebrities would do these scandalous things, and there was actually a shock factor to it. And now we're so desensitized to that. Nobody pays attention when like Sam Smith is mimicking golden showers in his music videos and dressing up like a demon with a pitchfork on stage. Nobody pays attention. But when Miley Cyrus went on stage with Robin Thicke in, what was that, 2013?
2013.
And had the foam finger and the mouse costume and was twerking, it was a big deal. And a lot of her fellow celebrity ilk hated on her for it.
Yeah.
So she's put out this song, and the lyrics capture Cyrus reflecting on the perceptions she faced as a teenager in the spotlight and her heavily scrutinized past, her bad girl phase that she went into after being a Disney child star. And she's just one of many.
I love how they just have to do it. They're not allowed to just go on and be well adjusted right away. They have to initially go through their bad girl phase.
Yeah.
It's required.
I think it was even trite when this happened, like in 2013. By then, crazier things have happened at the VMAs. Crazier things have happened in general in Hollywood than that performance.
It was more shocking to me when Alexa Panavega got religious and got married and moved to Hawaii.
Right, like shock me in a positive way. like doing something constructive for your life.
Like her and her husband are both religious, and they got married, have a bunch of kids, and moved to Hawaii. It's like
that's like the Kirk Cameron people.
Yes.
Right, and his little sister was on Full House. Yeah. And she's like very religious now. Yeah,
Candace Cameron Bure is very religious. She doesn't even do. She was Hallmark originally, and she doesn't do that anymore now. She does Great American Family. I love her because
they both have a bunch of kids, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love her because she's literally the living embodiment of live, laugh, love. Like she's a Hobby Lobby in human form. she looks like a Hobby Lobby. Like if you go to Hobby Lobby, you're gonna see a girl who maybe not like
she is a throw pillow at Home Goods.
Have you ever seen that? There's this video of this. It's like scary horror movie music, and it's a guy going through a house, and it's a whole house of live, laugh, love plaques. Like his wife just hung up like 10 of them in on every wall. Like the whole bathroom is just nothing but live, laugh, love plaques.
It's like one of those horror houses that you go into at a fair.
Yeah. Dude.
Okay, but I think that Miley Cyrus was trying to throw shade at Disney through this music video for the song.
There's a $20 one right there from Justin Seagraves.
He said, "Hey, I made a live show finally. Here's some money. No real message. I'm not very interesting." That's okay.
I'm not interesting either, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for the message. She's wearing this top that has Mickey Mouse on it while she's like bursting into tears, talking about her past and how harshly she was judged for it. In an interview in May just this year, she said, "I carried some guilt and shame around myself for years because of how much controversy and upset I really caused. Now that I'm an adult, I realize how harshly I was judged. I was harshly judged as a child by adults, and now as an adult, I realize that I would never harshly judge a child." And that's fair for a lot of the things she did go through as a child, like before the VMAs performance, before all the rest of the stuff.
She was a 21-year-old teenager.
But when she was actually underage, like her lewd photos were getting leaked, like stuff that was privately sent that was getting leaked. She like lost a distribution deal with Walmart because she was caught smoking weed, which is so like not controversial now.
I still remember when Michael Phelps got caught smoking weed. And everyone's like, he should be disqualified. I'm like, doesn't that just make him even faster than the rest of you if the dude can smoke weed and still beat the crap out of all of you?
Wait, was he smoking weed while he was swimming?
It was after, it was after he won the Olympics. He was like seen at a house party smoking weed, and they made a really big deal
performance
about it.
enhancement.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, we haven't treated our child stars well forever. Look at what's her name, Judy Garland. That was terrible.
And she was just getting her name dragged through the mud for doing blackface in 1937 when she was like 12.
Shirley Temple.
And like we could be talking about Judy Garland for much better reasons than that. You know, there are still problems like stage moms and abusers in Hollywood.
Do you think a lot of like what we see now with like how much we see in the culture of like parents that like they use their kids as a platform comes from like, remember the stage moms, but also like they had the TV shows about dance moms and stuff like that.
The beauty queen moms.
The kids who were in the TV.
There are so many like socially acceptable ways to put your kid out there, expose them to the wrong type of attention for your own material benefit, or maybe just living vicariously through them.
You have it now with like the trans moms who like push their kids out there. There was something this morning with this woman being like, my child's been on testosterone for a month. It's going great. And the child is just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's
very
great.
cringy and creepy.
Very evil things that mothers are capable of, and very great
Right.
loving acts as well, but you know, it's on the extreme ends. Thank you.
Crisis party. Thank you guys.
It's party time.
That's Carter and Phil and Ian singing to us.
Nice.
Up to a certain amount of super chats equals a crisis party.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
I
so
know
it's
that.
fantastic. It's fantastic, guys.
I did see an interesting thing. I was talking to the producers of Sound of Freedom, which is this movie that's opposed to, it's like an anti-human
I've heard
trafficking
of it.
film.
I've heard of
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to them and I was asking them about how they dealt with the children actors on the set. And how it would be, you know, difficult to watch knowing that the children were actually aware of what the story was and what they were going through. And they said that they didn't even tell the kids, the child actors, what the story was. So the parents were on set the entire time. When they needed the child to cry, the young boy, there was a scene where he was supposed to cry. And his dad was right next to him the whole time. And it turns out that the child had recently lost his grandfather. So they talked to him about his grandfather, and then he cried, and then they shot the scene.
I feel bad about that.
Yeah,
just hearing
I
that.
felt kind of bad about it too. But I'm glad they didn't tell him you were just, you know, almost raped by a human trafficker.
Like, how
or
do you even
something.
tell
Like,
a kid what
he wouldn't
any
be able
of
to
this
story.
means? And the
Yeah.
Emotionally, I don't know if that would even be accessible to him in the same way that your
Right.
grandfather would be. Well, there is an argument to be made there about, it's not exploitation, but it's like an adult who chooses to let their brain go there for a job is one thing. Like, because it is emotionally taxing to do those types of things,
it's
right?
inherently controversial because the kids don't know what they're getting into. They don't know what they're involved in.
It is manipulative. It's just
Like,
manipulative.
I was thinking
in a different
that
way.
with the Pope's Exorcist, where like this kid is possessed in the movie and he has to say these extremely vulgar, disgusting things. They're probably telling him to say certain lines that when you word them, it looks the same and they dub in the line. Fine. But like,
Do you
is
think
he going to
they
be
are?
cool with that later
No, I
on
bet
in
you they
life?
just have him say
I
the
bet they
line.
just have him say
Either
it.
way, either way.
They're not going through that much
When
work
he's
for
an
that.
adult, is he going to feel good about that? Like, it's weird, right? And also, I mean, I just saw this. I didn't know about this, but apparently when Miley was 15 in 2008, she did this photo shoot for Vanity Fair that was extremely controversial because she appeared to be topless in it. She had this sheet over her, and she appeared to be like not wearing any clothes. And she was the one that got shit for it. Not Vanity Fair, not all the people that were involved in
Not
this,
the
all the
art
adults
director.
orchestrating this, the photographer, the creative directors. It was Miley who had to apologize for it. That's insane.
It's giving Balenciaga.
And later on, she was like, actually, I'm not sorry, F you. And I'm like, I'm kind of there with you. Like, that wasn't your fault at all. That's extremely creepy that some adult had the idea to even portray you in that way.
Yeah.
It's just really wrong. A lot of the things that happened to her. And I'm not going to absolve her of accountability for the rest of the stuff that she did that is extremely vulgar and classless, including the VMAs. I mean, she was 20 years old by then. And you make your own choices. You make your own choices. It's a fact.
It is still shocking to me that the culture even shamed them at that point. I was a dude. I didn't care. Like, it didn't matter to me, right? But the world was very different, and it wasn't that long ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody would be reacting like this. Even Brooke Shields said, like, where did I, like, Brooke Shields played her mom in Hannah Montana, and she
Right.
said, where did I go wrong? Like, she was even trashing Miley for this when she herself experienced something even worse at the hands of
Right.
these disgusting people in Hollywood. She knows what it's like.
And she's spoken out against
And
that.
she still shamed Miley for doing this at the VMAs. Like, you should know better than anyone. She wasn't really the only person in control here.
The thing I mostly remember about that performance was the complaints of cultural appropriation.
For twerking.
Yeah, for
It's
twerking and
insane
for
that
having
that's
like
really, that's the biggest problem that you got from
that's
watching
what
that,
I remember.
really.
That's like what I remember was the issue.
So stupid.
And I remember also they were people were complaining that she had black backup dancers, and it's like you're not supposed to hire
were in
black
teddy
women.
bear
Like,
costumes.
what do you mean? Like, why can't you hire black women to
They're
dance?
like, don't
for your-"
hire black people.
Right. It's like Peter Dinklage in the Snow White
Yeah,
thing. He's
exactly.
like, no hiring any, little people or whatever the appropriate word is, insert here.
They do
no
believe
hiring
that.
any of these people except for me. I get a job. And all I could think of was like with, what's it called? How do I not remember? Wizard of Oz, right? So with Wizard of Oz, they did this big show, and it was Judy Garland, of course, and they had all of these little people who came out to be like Munchkins in Munchkin City, and these people all came out to do this. They had never met each other before. They'd never been around this many people who were of their same stature, and it was great. Apparently, the relationships were formed, lasting, lifelong friendships. All of these people were able to come together, which kind of seems cool, you know, like.
Now they believe, they
Now
really
you
do
can't.
firmly believe stay in your own lane. You're
Yeah.
not allowed to go to anything outside of your culture.
So Dinklage said, no other people of my stature get jobs
Only
in
I get to get
Hollywood
the jobs.
except for me.
He's like,
That's so rude.
It's a bunch of gatekeepers.
There's a $20 one
Baron
right
of
there.
Grey Matter said the child coaches were told not to tell the kids about the film's theme. One day they had a substitute coach who told one of the kids, scene where the girl is in the hotel room, about what was happening. Real tears in that scene.
Oh, really? That happened? That's awful. That's the sound of
Why would
freedom
you do
thing?
that?
That's terrible. What a terrible coach.
Yeah.
Not
What
good. But yeah, you're expected to stay in your own lane. You're not supposed to in any way, because like I said, cultural appropriation will be immediately where they go with
Right.
a lot of those claims, because they're always, people are in a defensive mode in culture now, where they don't go to paying homage, they don't go to actual influence that you might have had with what you're sharing. They think you're making fun of them,
Right.
Because they're miserable people. The people who not
Because
the
they
other
don't
artists,
like
but the
themselves,
people. Yeah.
so they think that everyone else feels that way.
My
about
culture
them.
is not your costume. Remember?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's so stupid.
The girl who wore what was it?
The Chinese outfit
for her prom?
Yeah, she looked great.
And they showed it to a bunch of people from that culture, and they were like, "Oh, awesome, great!"
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody's like paying homage. I guess they did. PragerU kind of did it with Will Witt when he did the thing with the sombrero. And he
Right,
went
I was
around.
just thinking that.
Even that was a little bit over the top for me, because I did actually find the mustache to be a bit hilarious and ridiculous. But you know, those.
But the thing is, like, people who are Chinese who look at that dress, people who are Mexican who look at the sombrero, because I remember that, and they were like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
They don't think of themselves as, depressed minority cultures. They like their culture, but like we as Americans, we look at them and think they must think we hate them when we talk about them because we hate ourselves so much. So maybe everyone hates themselves.
They're also probably not terminally online,
Right.
And that's
Probably too.
a lot of it does come down to that now. Like I firmly believe that, like in the real world, when you have these discussions with people, it really comes down to, in a lot of ways, somebody who lives constantly online and is offended by literally just about anything, and that's because your phone makes you more depressed the more time you spend on it. It does.
Does it really?
I firmly believe that. I think if you live in your phone for you're instantly in a better mood if you just get up and go outside for 10 minutes, right? So you're going to be more on edge. You know, the blue light's affecting your mood, and it makes people miserable.
Interesting.
But Miley's definitely a kind of a litmus test. Like she kind of shows you how far the culture has changed.
This took me down memory lane. Like I remember when I was in middle school when this happened, it was like everybody just thought she was a worthless floozy. Like I can't say what we actually said at the time, but like everyone just knew this was trash. Everyone agreed on that, and no one would say that now. No one would even dare say that.
Well, it would be celebrated as
Yes.
a win for womanhood, whatever that is, because they don't know what a woman is.
It would be a blip on the radar because this is everything that comes out of Hollywood now.
Because WAP is already out, and they've
look,
been like, doesn't matter.
The Today Show called it embarrassingly raunchy. Miley Cyrus didn't blur the line, she straight up crossed it. The Parents Television Council said, how is this an image of former child star Miley Cyrus appropriate for 14-year-olds? Like, nobody even asks, is this appropriate for kids anymore? They just, they go out of their way to expose kids to the most inappropriate, raunchy material on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, and they claim that it's their justification, that they have to.
Yeah. Bill Maher said, watching VMAs, haven't been in a strip club in a while, but good to see nothing has changed. Sherry Shepard said, Miley was going to hell in a twerking handbasket. when I was growing up, it was called twerking. They got these cute artistic names for it. That was called a hoe move right there. Brooke Shields said, "I don't approve. Where did I go wrong? I want to know who's advising her and why it's necessary. It's a bit desperate."
Is all of this...
The FCC got complaints as well. Like, it's just insane. Like, there would never be a response like this today.
Is all of this just because there is no break? You can't really put brakes on the sexual revolution. Like, it just has to keep going. There is no end to it, right? Like,
well, the end to it is the sexual revolution is going so far that we're converting children to be the opposite sex so that they can't have sex.
Yeah.
And then that will be the end.
And then take that, Miley. Then nobody will buy your music because they won't be able to do that, right? And now she's also talking about just her behavior at that time. Did she talk about like drugs or anything in that piece?
I mean, she says, I was not on drugs when I did the VMAs performance. I'm sure there were a lot of drugs involved in her bad girl phase, but
she has some cringy music where she talks about drug use, and it's
on her Bangers album.
I only remember the one because she co-ops like a Ghostface Killa lyric at the end, and that I found that particularly offensive because she doesn't even sample it. She must have just bought rights to use part of the song "Cream" in the song, and that's a legendary song.
She talked about being high off perks in 23.
Yeah, I do still love the song "Adore You" though. I do. I do. But yeah.
Also, like Robin Thicke got a lot of hate for this song, Blurred Lines, back then.
Yeah, I remember that.
Rape culture.
Yeah,
that's what they called it.
That's right. It was rape culture.
Was
I forgot about rape culture.
Was this because that would have been big on talking about it on university campuses at the time?
Yeah. Well,
Like-
they're still into that, right? They're
Yeah.
still like into dealing with
He was
rape
kind
culture.
of proto-canceled.
I just
Right.
just this year watched the show Veronica Mars for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
And when she goes to
I love that show.
Yeah, when she goes to college, they talk about rape culture
They
in
sure
that show.
do.
And there's like you have the prototypical feminists being made fun of by prototypical like frat boys,
Mm-hmm.
and in the show, luckily both end up being kind of bad. Like the feminists are seen as annoying, and the jocks are just dumb.
Right.
But that's
That's like the Barbie movie. The feminists are annoying and the jocks are dumb. That's like the whole thing.
That show is amazing.
It's so good.
yeah,
That's so good. And then what's her name? Kristen Bell. Is that her
Yeah.
name? Kristen Bell. She was so good in The Good Place, which I
people
loved.
love the Good Place.
Well, it was a smart, funny show.
Yeah. That if you want to see an interesting look at I always reference Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer
as a perfect
oh my goodness,
example
that's
of
my
like
favorite too.
I love this for you guys.
of early of like how you can actually write good feminism.
She was so great.
Yeah, you can write good feminism.
Yes.
It can be done. It just can't be done in current year because they don't know how to. But those early seasons of Veronica Mars and Buffy the Vampire Slayer are probably your best cultural examples. If you wanted people to say, if you wanted to give these new writers a blueprint and say, look, if you're looking to write successful feminism, show them those two shows, and they would probably at least get a
Also
good.
throw in Murder, She Wrote.
Yes.
Jessica Fletcher.
And that was 2 decades before that.
I know, but I watched it when I was a kid with my grandma.
Yep, that was all great stuff. But especially
And
the
Dionne Warwick on Solid Gold, which nobody is going to know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
It was great.
I've never seen that one.
Dionne Warwick was great.
I know the name Dionne
Okay,
Warwick.
she was great.
So it can be done, but now you do enough feminism and you end up with Miley Cyrus. That's the problem here, right? It's a slippery slope.
It's just like at the time you were compelled to say she's just exploring her sexuality. She finally has the freedom to express herself. How dare you criticize her, slut shaming her, blah, blah, blah. And then you see 10 years down the line, she's miserable and crying about it.
And that's
Yeah,
where
and she's divorced.
so maybe
right?
the people being critical of this performance are the ones who had compassion in the first place.
That's a good point.
that always ends up being my issue with all of this stuff is we like as much as we see these articles, right? We still see articles about new women, younger women who are now doing the same thing. I'm being empowered. I'm doing this, and I'm like, I just set my timer. 2 years. Give it 2 years, and it's the photographer coerced me into taking that photo. I'm like,
Or
you
it's
can
Kate
see
Moss
it.
saying, Mark Wahlberg came in with a posse for that photo shoot we did. He made me feel intimidated.
It's just like you can see it.
Those were
coming.
good. That was a good photo shoot. I remember those billboards up right by the
Sometimes
Broadway
you need a little
Lafayette
bit
stop.
of intimidation for
Yeah.
good art.
But I'm saying like this. It's always like I don't see a lot. Now I don't mean to make this a gendered issue. I don't see a lot of guys coming back 20 years later and saying like, I was coerced into doing this, I was coerced into doing that. And there's probably, if we're being honest, in Hollywood, a lot of untold examples of that.
Well, you saw that with what's his name, the Kevin Spacey, the guys
That's
who
exactly
sued
what I'm
Kevin
saying, yeah.
Spacey, and they were like, "Oh, this was what was it? The Raps? Was it Anthony Rapp?
Yeah.
Was suing Kevin for like whatever sex, and then but you also had like Steven Tyler, who after a young woman
I
came
forgot about
out
that
and
one.
said like, "Oh, I was 15 and he, was inappropriately involved with me." When he talks about that relationship, he was like, I was going to marry her, I was so in love with her, and it's all like that. So it's a totally different situation. But there's also something that I think people forget, which is, you remember things differently based on where you are in your life. Like I remember my 20s way differently now than I remembered them, like a few years ago. And I'm sure that when I'm an old person, God willing that I get to be an old person, I'm going to remember, the age I am now very differently than I think about it now. You always remember, it depends on because it's all about the story you tell of your own life. It's all about like your own personal narrative and how you tell the story of how you got here.
That's why some people think they peaked in high school.
That's why yeah, exactly. Like I would never think that because... and I'm sure you guys wouldn't either because you think about it differently as time goes on. If you're living an examined life, which used to be the goal. I remember I had this very philosophical English teacher in high school who was always talking about how important it was to lead an examined life. And he talked about how when he was in World War II, he kept a paperback always in his back pocket. Anyway, Peter Renke, he was great. But he was always talking about how important it is to constantly be thinking about your life as you're living it so that you understand the journey that you're on while it's happening and you're not, able to be convinced of some other narrative as you're going on.
That's why people made the big deal when they had all those studies that said that like real world NPCs exist, people with no internal monologue who just kind of exist without thinking about
People who can't rotate an apple in their head.
Yeah, but somebody mentioned Terry Crews. Terry Crews is another example of somebody who very clearly, whoever the people were that Bryan Singer abused in Hollywood, likely allegedly abused. It's just I think that there's a lot of the women come out later because their careers shift and they have to go to the book, what I call the book. It's the book stage. They now have to write the book about
The memoir.
and the book
Memoir.
in the book needs some type of hook. And it's usually something along those lines.
I was raped by Weinstein. Let's put that in the book.
But even that's like an example of a very, very concrete one. Like a lot of
I have
them.
a friend who says that she was raped by Weinstein. And
Do you have reason to believe that is true?
I think there's a good chance, yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a very good chance
It's
that
just like when you
happened.
package that into a product to sell it later when your career has deflated, you're quite literally monetizing your trauma.
Yeah, well,
And
she had this experience where she believes that her mother basically pimped her out.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a very weird and terrifying story
But
in that sense. But yeah, you're right. It's when they have to do the memoir that they suddenly decide. I remember when everyone was talking about, because I used to do theater, and everyone was talking about, this was like 2017, and it was Me Too, which is, of course, that reaction to Trump. And everyone was talking about how so many, like some huge percentage of women had been sexually abused or sexually assaulted or something like that. And I remember for a moment feeling like, is there something wrong with me? This has never happened to me. Am I misremembering my life? Like, this has never happened to me.
But there's actually people doing that, right? Where
Yeah, and people actually
re-looking
do
at-
that.
Don't they often say it's like 1 in 4 women or something?
Yeah, and I remember looking around and like then hearing people's stories, and I'd be like, that's not sexual assault. Or I had one friend who told me the story of a sexual assault that had happened to her, and 5 years earlier she had told me the story in a completely different way, where she didn't want to, but she was like, okay, whatever, you did pay for the trip to Italy. Like,
But sometimes if it is a really effed up situation that is exploitative, like you could tell yourself a different story about it to get by. So that
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you can have other people in your ear making you think something was wrong when it was really like your choice. I don't know. It's
$20 one right
complicated.
there.
Dr. Outstanding
Yeah.
said, Libby, what's your best culture-related parenting advice? As the father of a toddler, I'm terrified about what he can be exposed to. How do you run interference but also encourage creativity and independence?
Wow, that's like there's a lot in that
wide
question. So my son was a toddler once, and now he's not, and he has his own ideas of what he likes. But one thing that I think is really important, when my son was a toddler, this was advice given to me by a friend whose child had been a toddler, who said, "Don't play crappy kid music for your kid. Play them music that you like." Just play the music that you like,
Solid advice.
which I think is really good advice. And what that means too is I never had to listen to really crappy music.
No
Didn't have
Kids
to
Bop
listen to no
albums.
Coco Melon.
Nope. And he hates that. And he's hated it the whole time. And he has really good taste in music. And he'll be like, "Mom, I'm studying this for piano, and it's like Claire de Lune." And I'm like, "Oh, that's way above."
He's like listening to
Yeah.
Morrissey.
He does like Morrissey.
Yeah.
I was listening to Kanye West, that record Graduation, and one of the songs samples Steely Dan. And my son was like, "I hate this record. I don't know why you listen to hip hop, but what's that sample?" And now he's listening to Steely Dan. And I'm like, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I've pretty much just exposed him to the things that I think are good. And I watch stuff with him even now, like, and all through his growing up, I would watch stuff with him. So if he found something interesting on YouTube, I would sit there and watch it with him and talk to him about it and see what it is. Sometimes I would see him watching something and I would just walk in and I'd be like, "Nope, not this. This is off. We're never watching this again. This is against the rules. I will take the remote away from you forever if you turn this on again."
Let's
We just got another one.
let's go to Super Chats but start with the $20 one right
Yes.
there.
Half Baked Treehouse said, "Episode of Nothing. I'm late as always. Libby, would you please explain to Brett that he needs to hurry up and become a hockey dad so Hannah Claire can start focusing on her own relationships? Hashtag love somebody. Hi, Mary."
Look,
That's a lot to take.
There's so much going on in that.
she does famously like to, anytime I see her, inform me that I need to hurry up and get married so that I can be a hockey dad.
But this is Hannah
Probably
Claire's. This is like one of her favorite talking points
Yes.
to everybody.
Let's just all do our own thing. Concern ourselves with our own lives, okay?
I'll worry
How
about
that?
me. Hannah Claire can worry about her, and we'll
Also, you could very likely have a kid who does not want to play hockey.
exactly. that
Everyone
would be
has
the-
enough to worry about, okay?
My son was recently telling me, he called, I was away and he was with his dad, and he called and he said, he's going to hate if he hears this. But anyway, he called and he said, "Mom, Dad took me to the baseball match." And in the background, I hear his dad go, "Game. It's a game. It's a game."
That's I played baseball and hockey, so I would have made. If that was my son, I would have made the same correction. Like, it's not a match. You go to a soccer match.
It's a game.
You go to a wrestling match. You don't go to a baseball match.
It was a gorgeous moment.
All right. Let's start from the top then.
We have an extremely British message from Kanye Diggit. He said, "Kanye Diggit, yes you can, bloody hell, haha." Okay.
All right then.
Tacty Platty said, "Libby, you rock. Stay dope from a polite simp."
Oh, that's very
Very
sweet.
polite.
It's always
Thank
good
you.
to be polite, ladies and gentlemen.
Waffle Sensei said, "Hey Libby, good to see you. Welcome back,
Hey,
sister."
Waffles. Last time I saw you, we were hanging out at a casino.
Yoshima Otaru said, "TikTok spreading Chicom psyop since 2016."
Well, we've got more of that coming up too. So
Well, it used to be Musically.
Yeah.
It's not. It wasn't Chinese back then, was it?
Probably still
I
was.
thought it
There
was an American company before.
There was probably Chinese investors.
Marco sent $1 without a message.
Let's hold
Thank
off on the
you.
rest and we will
All right.
come back. So let's move on. Let's talk about Sean O'Malley, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen. If you want more dating advice, I recommend going.
If you didn't get
literally-
enough dating advice from Culture War this morning, we're fresh and fit. We're talking about how you should have 50 girlfriends to be a high value male. Next, you can listen to Sean O'Malley, where he says the same thing. He says, "I can cheat on my wife because I pay for everything and I'm a king and I should be treated like a king."
He's a king.
That was his point. He went on the Raw Talk podcast to talk about this and do his mental gymnastics and coping as to why it's okay that he has an open marriage, except for the fact
one-way
that his
open.
wife can't be in other relationships, just him. Let's look at the clip.
Okay, let's watch this clip here real quick. Data mode. Here we go.
To the question about, like, would you let another, like, if you believe that, would you let another guy be with your girl? You said no, though.
Yeah, no, that ain't happening.
Yeah, no.
Horrible voice.
I can fuck me. I'm a king. I pay for everything. I treat Danny like a queen. If I get a little puss on the side, what does that have to do with anything?
He has
I got
such
testosterone
a
running through my
horrible
veins.
voice.
That's
That's
unpleasant.
fucking simple. I wouldn't say that if I was in the opposite position. If I wasn't paying for everything, if I wasn't successful in any sort of way, and I was just like fucking maybe an average Joe, it probably wouldn't be fair. But I feel like I'm fucking King Kong.
Then you'd have to hide it.
I'm fucking King Kong, baby.
Because of what you have.
He says that like there aren't like normal dudes who like earn the money in the
And pay for everything.
I love how he says there's testosterone pumping through my veins, and he sounds like he's 12 years old.
It feels like he's trying to convince himself of that more than he's trying to convince.
Right, exactly. That's what this whole thing is about. Like this flexing that, my wife, I treat her like a queen, and she lets me be a king, and I get to be a serial philanderer. It's about wanting to get validated in your manhood by the rest of the world and not having any, internal confidence. Like, you're not
interesting.
A nonplussed, confident individual. That's actually attractive to women.
Because he is a successful person. He is the bantamweight champion in UFC, right? So he is an accomplished
has the money and the
fighter.
fame.
He's got the money and the fame. But he's also one of the problems I have with a lot of these podcasts that talk about stuff like this is the audience is not the people they're speaking to. Like most of the people who watch this stuff aren't the high value 1% men that they're talking about in these things. It's great in theory, sure, I guess, if you're into it as entertainment, but it's not the real world.
I was seeing that he uses Andrew Tate to back up his his view, which I think is sort of a shame.
It's about status.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of differences in marriages, but I don't see how you can respect a man who treats you like you're just a throwaway. I think that would be really too sad. I had a professor in grad school who he and I always disagreed on this, and he's Cuban, right? His background is Cuban. He came over, whatever. Anyway, lots of stories about government cheese. Anyways, he was always telling me that my view was really puritanical. My view against philandering, against cheating, pro-monogamy. He was always like, Libby, you have such a puritanical American view on this. That's not how it is in the rest of the world. And I always thought, well, I wouldn't want to be married in the rest of the world. You know, I would want a man who wants me and not everybody else.
Yeah.
Also, it's like, it's sort of dangerous, right? There's like a lot of issues with regard to STDs, which I know that Planned Parenthood now wants us to think are just not even that big a deal. But when I was a kid, it was like this whole issue, sex and intravenous drug use was going to kill you no matter what. And I'm sure there's a lot of Gen Xers out there who were like, yep, that was middle school
Magic
health class.
Johnson.
Right. Well, he's fine now because he had enough money
Yep.
to cure himself to get that all sorted. But I think it's a shame that he views his wife like that.
Yeah. I think
also it says she has a job, doesn't it?
He says she doesn't need to work, but she does work 2 days a
he
week.
pays for everything, but she works just because
wants
that's
to.
fun for her.
Well,
I don't
also
know.
because eventually he's going to leave her for someone younger and hotter, and she
gonna
better
leave
have
him.
a career.
And these two guys are like, they're kind of pushing back on what he's saying because they know that it doesn't make sense. Like, they know that they want a real relationship that lasts with someone that's really there for them and they're really there for her, but they don't know how to square that with also being a high value male and just needing that constant stream of validation from, women who are pursuing that. I mean, it's just, they're not realizing how little it means when some hoe opens her legs. Like,
Right, just
it means so
just ask
little.
Hamilton,
Yeah.
Well, and also like when people were more discerning about that and men actually had to go work for it.
It doesn't say
in a
anything
way.
about them. It says everything about that woman
Yeah.
who does that.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this one comment here. It says, I get the vibe that Sean was a nerd who settled down with the first girl who would talk to him, then regretted it after his career blew up and fame opened so many doors. He negotiated this open relationship so he can bang groupies with a clean conscience and does some coping mental gymnastic that it's okay if she bangs other guys because getting to bang other chicks is worth the jealousy. Bottom line, in life, you can't have your cake and eat it too. All open relationships are doomed to failure. And I'm just not willing to buy this thing that they're selling. Like, the idea that a man's ultimate fulfillment is found in, screwing as many women as possible. But at the same time, a woman's deepest desire is to be the singular object of a man's affection and pursuits. that doesn't make any sense biologically or spiritually. Why would our deepest desires be that at odds with each other?
Yeah,
it's almost like one of us is
that's
lying.
interesting.
Like,
That's interesting.
one of us isn't really admitting what we want here.
Well, and so of
know?
course you have like the entire feminist culture seeking to overturn that potentially female impulse and say that women have the same impulse as men. But casual sex doesn't tend to make women happy or fulfilled.
Yeah.
Which is
and
why
men don't
they're-
seem to notice.
Which is
you know?
why women are like antidepressant use is up as high
Right,
as it is now.
SSRIs are like widest used among middle-aged white women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because they're trying to fill a family-sized gaping hole in their lives that's just not there.
Well, the other thing too is, you remember Condoleezza Rice? She was Secretary of State under George Bush, and she was on a podcast or whatever it was with, I think, Oprah and Valerie Jarrett, who was high up in the Obama administration, who was also a very fascinating woman, whether you agree with her politics or not. And Condoleezza Rice said, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. And I thought that was really interesting. Like,
It's true.
life comes in phases, is what she said.
Well, and that's one of the hardest parts about it, right? Because when we, women, which are now higher in college graduation numbers, right? Women make up the largest amount of college graduates. They're starting to out earn men. But the problem is, like you said, you can't have it all at once. And if you try to have a family, make it to some high level position at a company, invariably then you have kids, then you eventually have to sacrifice something, and a lot of them are now choosing to not sacrifice the career in favor of kids, which then damages the marriage, which proves that once again you can't have everything.
Well, if you
all at
look
once.
too at Northern European countries where they talk about how equality between the sexes is greatest, you see a higher propensity of women willing to step out of the workforce.
Well, they have way better parental leave.
Right, they have better
Benefits,
parental leave stuff. Yeah.
And universal health care.
Yeah, but they also have
Which
a
is
lot of
proportionate to their own population.
right, but they also have a lot of issues with regard to daycare and what you're allowed to teach your kids.
They have a
So-
lot of issues in general. I mean,
Sure.
look at how they're euthanizing people.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
I hate that. In Canada, that's a
Not
big
the
problem
most
as
pro-life
well.
culture over
It's
there.
like a very large percentage. It's like you would be surprised at whatever the percentage is in Canada of people who get euthanized.
Is that a high percentage?
It's not like 50% or anything like that, but it's like, you're like, oh, really? It's that much? Let me check.
They're just like, I'm out of here. That's crazy. That's
Yep.
crazy.
But it's just weird, first of all, that he justified this behavior with Andrew Tate, his polemic about what high value men do in their lives, when Andrew Tate himself has walked that back. Like, he's now saying, monogamous relationships are the best type of way to live your life, and you need to, have traditional relationships, traditional gender roles, marriage, family. And he's saying, like, the way I did things was not ideal. I have multiple baby mamas. I have children with multiple women, and yes, I treat them all well because I have this wealth, but this is not the ideal way to live your life. Like, you should have an insulated, united family unit. And he didn't live his life that way. So even he has walked that back. He has walked that rhetoric back. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that he's walked it back, because all the guys that heard the message they wanted to hear are going to continue running with it.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because these are like random, over-the-top celebrity examples. They don't represent the average person. His wife doesn't represent the average woman. These are the rare examples that have become entertainment that people are taking as life advice.
They're like, our situation's different because the most guys would just cheat and lie about it.
I was just thinking.
So we're better than them, because at least we tell our women that we're
speak up
cheating
about it.
on them.
Well, it's like, do you remember when, remember Rihanna and everyone was criticizing her? She had like a cover, I forget, like some glamour magazine cover.
Yeah, with
and everyone was like, "Oh, ASAP Rocky
A$AP.
is so awful. He's behind her. How could he be like
yeah,
that?"
they were on the
the
beach.
green lines
They
were off.
criticize it. Yeah, they criticize it no matter what. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're in the spotlight, your lifestyle is going to be hacked apart.
Sure, I did think that cover was weird though, and it's
You thought it was
Mary was
weird?
those people.
You
no,
don't
like
that
I
cover?
am that person.
What did you hate about it?
I mean, it was like ASAP was like getting led by her, and she was like in this domineering position, and he was in that like maternal
Interesting.
position in the photo holding the kid, and I don't know. I didn't like the way that they framed that. Like creatively, every part of that is meticulously thought through.
So you think that he
can't
should have
make
been in
any
the
of it an
lead?
afterthought. Like they definitely, that was a calculated way that they framed that shot.
I do think that for a lot of it, whether it's these discussions like this one or like what they did on Culture War today or Fresh and Fit, I think a lot of it is actually negative for the culture because what we're doing, and I mean the entertainment side of this, which is that because we're living in our phones, because we live online, we now hyper analyze every aspect of our relationship with the opposite sex and do very little to actually equate to what that means in the real world. Meaning that you're getting upset at non-existent women because of ideas. Not because of actual examples, but because of ideas that might or might not slightly correlate to something that happened in your life. And we're turning it into some type of either team sport mentality, meaning that men are always right or women are always right, wherever you fall on that line. And at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be that, at least not in relationships. It's supposed to be a team effort together, you and the other person.
Right.
But we've started to overanalyze every aspect of how we interact with the opposite sex and then use that as an excuse to either be promiscuous or to not engage at all and just stop entirely. And you lose a lot of the human experience when you do that in favor of stuff that at the end of the day is being made for entertainment. Some of these people probably do believe every word of what they're saying, but for the most part, a lot of this ends up being something that people consume passively. And I don't think that's good for us.
Can I just tell you guys how many people in Canada were killed by
How many?
euthanasia?
hear
Over 10,000 in 2021. So it's more than 3% of the population, which is a large number.
Yeah.
I think that's a very large number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think all of this stuff is it's the dating stuff as far as like social media and as far as shows has been a net negative for the culture, for our relationships with the opposite sex.
That's interesting.
It's only going to continue trending though. It's like what people want to talk about right now and listen to right now.
Do you think it's going to get worse?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you predict is going to happen?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of young men are really attracted to masculinity thought leaders and also Islam.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
being a thing.
Maybe we're going to see an uptick in like Islamic converts.
Well, Islam
like,
doesn't hate itself. You know,
Yes.
Christianity seems to hate itself, at
and
least
it, at
in the
least on
US
the
and
surface
Europe.
seems to have this robust championing masculinity and you know, some objective morality, which so many Christian churches have not held on to in the past few decades, so
Yeah.
or longer really. So hopefully not, but I mean I can't really predict anything else.
Interesting.
Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
Christianity
optimistic
has gone full over in a lot of cases to the like whole LGBT thing.
Like there are still you know, niche parts of Christianity that are coming back with a stronger a stronger Christianity that doesn't alienate men as much.
And then
But
you have the FBI investigating them.
then right, you know, they
So-
are alienated within their own communities.
But they end up
so-
losing anyways because isn't a big proponent
It's-
of it to turn the other cheek, and when they turn the other cheek, they cede ground in the culture. Islam doesn't.
Well,
turn
that's
the other
often
cheek.
misinterpreted.
No, yeah.
That's often misinterpreted to mean, you know, lay down like a dog.
Yeah, that's not what it means at all.
But that's how it's being perceived these days because Christianity is constantly crapped
I mean,
on.
Jesus is even talked about like as if he were a woman, as if he walked this earth as a
Right.
woman, and it's
he
not
didn't at all.
appreciated that, you know, this is a man. Like God chose to be incarnate as a man, and that's important. And
Well,
there's
I
something
heard
to
that
identify
song,
with.
and I
And
heard
that's how
God
he
is
was
woman.
able to lift women up, like his mother and Mary, and that's a whole big deal.
Well,
I think.
before we get too deep, let's start with some super chats. Shane H. Wilder said, "Okay, guys, you convinced me. I'm going to buy a parrot and start sailing the high seas." You got to have a parrot, right?
If you're going
Yeah.
to be a pirate, you
essential.
have to have a You have to have a parrot. It's just it's the rules. I don't make the rules.
The Last of My Kind said, "Did y'all try the tape square with Mr. Bocus?"
I have not done that yet. I'll tell you
We
what
should.
I did do though. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show the other day. So, or did I mention that Ian put the bed on top of the cardboard box? So there's a
Yes.
cardboard box. Yeah, there's a cardboard box here that Bocus is quite a fan of. And Ian put a bed on top of there. He meant well. He wanted Bocus to have his nice comfy bed. Well, Bocus wants the box. He doesn't
Yeah.
want the bed. So he sat literally anywhere but the bed on the corner of the cardboard box, almost falling off until I removed it. And then he gleefully stretched out and just took in the box. He loves that thing.
He likes the flat surface.
That's very sweet.
Victor Von Derp said, only the deep state could turn a billionaire into an underdog admired by the people. A lack of tactical thinking on their part. Well done. True. Shane H. Wilder said, what's funny is physical copies of Alice's new album that dropped today sold out. I think he'll be fine. The album is a banger.
Yeah, Alice Cooper wasn't going anywhere anyways. He's
No.
he's
After he's been around this long? I don't think so.
he's grandfathered in, you could say. Let's do one more and then we'll move on.
1000 Foot Deep End said, happy Friday, PCC. Welcome to the show, Libby. The I hate Disney option was hidden under the comment bar until after I'd voted.
No!
Interference much? JK.
That's-
It would have been my choice, LOL.
That is that is definitely Disney doing shenanigans
It's
with
rigging.
this right now. They're rigging it if ever I've seen it. Mary, tell us what's going on with Dua Lipa.
Yes. So Dua Lipa just did an interview with Vogue France. And for the photo shoot, she bleached her eyebrows. And you know that means you're about to hear a feminist tirade. She's about to go off about the patriarchy and Me Too and all of this stuff. I just don't understand why these glamorous, attractive female celebrities allow creative directors on these photo shoots to just make them look like hairless, greasy aliens
Ew.
for fun.
Ew.
Like yeah. Like if I were in their position, I simply wouldn't do it. I would not allow them to make me look like that.
Be like, make me look pretty.
Yeah, like I'm in a Vogue cover shoot. Can you make me look pretty for once? We were just talking about this actually, how women in Hollywood are embracing looking as ugly and disturbing
I
as
saw
possible.
your show on that. Yeah, that was a good.
I want to
really
know
great.
what your take is on this trend and like what compels them to do this.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting. And I watched that segment. They want to be ugly because they want to push off the.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you guys. Hold please. Hold.
Totally not disrupting the point at all.
It's part of the charm of the show. It's what people
Okay,
tune in for.
continue.
I love how you guys keep having to feed money into the machine.
We need
That's
to make
great.
like some type of like thing that just tips in. It'd be
Yeah.
great.
like the card shufflers.
Yes.
But anyway, your take on
Oh, yeah.
embracing ugliness.
Yeah, I think they want to upend the concept of beauty and the concept of natural beauty, and remake our understanding of what's beautiful. I don't know what's exactly behind this. All I can really think of is something incredibly nefarious is going on here.
Phil
just
would
in
tell you it's
terms of-
Marxism.
Well, Phil says everything is Marxism.
Yes.
But a lot of it, I think, a lot of it comes out of the punk culture, which made women very unattractive. So it's kind of like if you already feel ugly, you're going to make yourself uglier so you don't feel bad about being ugly.
Make all of your surroundings
Just make
ugly.
everything really hideous and disgusting,
Yeah.
so that you're like a hideous fat woman sitting in a brutalist building looking like a greasy alien, you know.
It's a big cope,
It's a
basically, is what you're
big
saying.
cope is what I think it is.
It's a real. I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
this
a
is
reflection
that
of social media.
this is that like business core thing, that like
The
giant,
big giant blazer
the giant
that
coat.
hides your shape, and it's just so unfortunate because Dua Lipa is literally a model,
and I don't like the
chooses
eyebrows.
to hide her natural beauty and hide her figure and look like Jeffree Star. Look androgynous. It's very anti-woman. And speaking of which, she was asked, do you have any plans to become a mother in the future? She joked, she won't be a mother anytime soon. The only baby I'm thinking about is my new album. The interviewer says, for thousands of years, it was taken as a given that women would become mothers. Today, many of my female friends aren't sure if they want children. I feel like this expectation is weaker than ever before. Maybe because the world has become too dangerous and the future seems too bleak? ?
Oh, that's so stupid. They've been saying that since the 70s. Like in Annie Hall, when is it Annie Hall or is it Husbands and Wives? Anyway, I have watched all of his films, but he talks about how, you know, he would never bring a child into this world because it's so, you know, horrible and there's pollution. And it's like, that was literally in the 70s. And they just
Yeah.
keep pushing this anti-life concept on us, You know, whether it's you don't need to have children, or the world is too dangerous for children, or it's climate change is going to kill everybody. And Extinction Rebellion is like, I'm not going to have children to spite you guys because of everything. And then you end up miserable and sad. My only real regret is that I didn't have more children. You know, I'm like so grateful that I have a child. And I look at him and I'm just, you know, there's the future right there. It also makes it more possible. So like when you go through life, at a certain point, I saw this with my grandparents, they started living more in the past than in the future because they were very old. So most of their recollections and thought process was about, you know, their past. But if you have a child, you can look into the future, whereas it's much harder otherwise to look into the future if you can't see yourself in it because you're going to, you know, be dead. So
yeah, to me, it's just like decide what it is. Like, what is your actual objection to becoming a parent? Is it because the world is so awful, or is it because you want to have as much time to yourself to enjoy how great the world is without someone bogging you down? What,
and
like,
meanwhile,
what is
kids
it really?
don't bog you down at all.
Well, that's what she seems to think here. She says, yeah, the modern world is crazy, but beyond that, I think women have acquired a place in society that was forbidden before. And yet, has the desire to have children disappeared? I think women want to do things at their own pace and not feel guilty for thinking of themselves. For me, when the moment is right, I'll know. But then until then, I have other priorities. I want to continue making the most of my youth.
Was Lucille Ball held back? I don't think so. She produced Star Trek, for goodness sake.
It's also true because we've made it easier for women to have kids later and later now.
Well, that's a myth, though.
But
I mean, it's
I'm not
really
saying I'm not saying it's safer.
And then they like buy women in third world countries and rent their bodies to do it for them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the between surrogacy and the fact that we just live longer now too, people think they've got all the time in the world, and they don't stop thinking in the moment. And in the moment isn't how you actually have to plan your life out.
I kind of feel like, you know, I understand not everybody wants to have kids or whatever, but I don't know why we have to, as a culture, shame people for having children, put down the impulse to reproduce, or constantly be telling women that it's not the thing they want to do.
And that's the
like
other
if
thing.
it's a choice, it's a choice. Stop making it so that it's, you know, you should not have children. That's the message that so many people get.
They make it about where they say, I'm being shamed for not having kids, when that's not really what it is now. Now you're being shamed for having kids at a young age because they say, what are you doing that for? You have your whole life in front of you. Why are you wasting your life by doing this when everyone knows that that's not the way that things actually are now? Now you're shamed because it's the same way they say about, you know, feminism was about equal rights, but they still shame you if you get married and have kids now. If you choose to be a housewife, you're shamed for doing so because you chose, because they see it as oppression and you see it as family.
Right.
And that's not the real world. That's just how their more dejected and nihilistic view of the world interprets your existence.
Right. Plus, if you have kids young, then they grow up and leave, and you're young.
Yeah.
And you can, you know, I don't mean like insanely young. My sister had kids when she was like 25.
You don't want to be Al Pacino having kids at 80. So when he's 18,
wasn't it Dustin Hoffman?
He was like, I'm finally ready.
Al Pacino.
Oh my goodness.
Al Pacino and Robert De Niro both had kids in their 80s. One was 80.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, those kids they're going to be dead before those kids are 18. And there's actually an interesting kind of fringe discussion about the ethics of that, right? Like, is it ethical to have a kid at 80 knowing that, first of all, you're never going to be able to play with him outside? You're 80. Like, it's just not going to happen. But also, like, by the time he's graduating,
be sleeping more than
you're going to be 98 years old when he graduates high school.
Right.
Like, you know.
Okay, we've got one from Jay Raymond. Women's healthcare is a complete mess. Current EMT and nursing student, they basically take a wait-and-see approach on a lot of it. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, societally. I mean, I'm going to be, like, totally honest. I'm not a mother yet. I am very confident that becoming a mother is going to be something very fulfilling for me. But the idea of becoming, like, selfless is absolutely terrifying. Like, that is terrifying. And I don't want to tell women that that's, like, not a valid thing to worry about. But it's just not something you should let paralyze you.
It just sort of happens, though, and then you're glad.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't turn into a... You don't suddenly like have to be selfless and you're like, oh no, I have to do this. You're like, oh, this is great. You know, that was what my grandmother said. My grandma Dagmar, she said, I was like, Grandma, I'm kind of freaked out. I'm pregnant. I don't have any idea how to raise a child. I don't know what to do. She's like, you'll know everything. It'll be fine.
You'll figure it out as you go.
Because I mean, what else are you naturally programmed?
She was like,
to
it's going to be
do?
totally fine.
Yeah.
You got it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's not easy, but.
To shift, I just wanted to complain about how stupid celebrity interviews are because
Which one?
They're so gay. Like,
I love that
the
you say
entire
gay.
exercise is just inflating the already gigantic egos of these celebrities and asking them inane questions, and to which the answers I'm just like, who cares? This one asked, "The butterfly is one of your motifs. When you were little, did you like catching them?" She said, "Never. I was just fascinated by their beauty, their freedom. And then I thought about the butterfly's experience.
Oh my
Such a brief
goodness.
life, a metamorphosis. We as humans, too, go through so many metamorphoses."
But it wasn't the fruit fly that caught her attention. Just the butterfly. Okay.
Like, it's just torture.
It
Who
go-
is reading this?
It goes in the lines of all the things that they tell you that are not real. That's not
This
real
is why
sayings.
celebrities
Yeah.
think that they're really, really fucking important.
Yes.
That's what happens with a lot of famous people, though. Is like everyone gets around, kisses their ass, and then they're like, "Oh, I must be genius and brilliant and really smart and also rich and
And they're
all
like,
of the rest." And
oh,
you're
we
like,
find out they're a jerk behind the
it's
scenes?
like everyone's just sucking your dick. That's all.
Wow.
And
Who would've thought?
nobody stops to tell you maybe that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. In my entire life. Like,
The butterfly, huh?
Yeah.
That's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard, Dua.
wow,
Yeah, that is
you really
pretty
said that out loud, huh?
That's crazy.
Big yikes, bro.
Yikes.
Big yikes, bro. Like, I don't know if I would have said that out loud. It was really brave of you to admit that you're that stupid. Like, but I mean, that goes along with the fact that we live on our phone. Like, we live and everything we talk now is through transcript. So we talk differently than we did 20 years ago. I maintain that when you watch television shows now, people talk like they're on Twitter a lot.
You
And
think so?
I believe that people write in short bursts now, so people don't actually sound authentic when they talk on TV and movies. It's why phrases like "step into your confidence" are a thing now. That doesn't mean
That's
anything.
a terrible phrase. That's awful.
It doesn't mean anything, and that's the world we live in now. Everybody's talking in flowery lingo, and there's no better place for them to do that than in these stupid interviews where somebody asks a question that dumb. Right?
Yeah.
And they love it because they say it and they're just like, man, I sounded so cool right there. They're just like, dude, everyone's going to read this and be so impressed. And meanwhile, we're over here like, nobody reads interviews
You're
anymore.
gay!
Like we have to read it for work and even we don't want to read it. Like, nobody's reading this.
No.
That's not a thing. They're going to Taylor Swift concerts, maybe.
Maybe.
Other than that, they're not, they're...
Except for
Definitely
Ariana
don't care
Grande.
what Taylor Swift thinks of a butterfly.
They actually, that's not even true. Her fans would care. That's the problem. Her fans
Would they all
actually-
get like face tattoos of butterflies?
They would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would
like
do
just
that.
right down the middle and the.
But her fans are scary. Like
She also has some thoughts on when she was a model back in the day, when she was a teenager. She said she was body shamed.
Oh.
And she says she left modeling to start her music career because one guy told her that she would need to lose weight for a job. That was the entire reason she just said, F this, I'm not modeling anymore.
I do love...
One guy said lose
Just
weight.
one guy.
One man. That's the power of men talking.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Like, you're gonna
there's
let
so many
that-
stories of just women just hearing somebody say something mean to them, and there's like a 9-paragraph article written about this, and then
They're like, I don't even care.
I don't care, but I'm going to tell you in 9 paragraphs why.
and no, it's not. But it's not even them saying that. It's 9 paragraphs of that person telling you what happened, and then the person writing the articles talking about how we need to change the entertainment industry,
Right, literally
how we
everything.
behave around the opposite
Video
sex,
games.
Everything needs to change because somebody told this lady, "Yo, bitch, you need to lose some weight." Like.
Because modeling is about products and clothes
Exactly.
and not you.
Right? Like,
Yep.
it is what it is.
Okay,
Models are
Baron of
supposed to
Gray
be
Matter.
hangers.
He
Yeah.
said, it's interesting. Women have been selfless since there have been kids and families. Men have too in a different way. War, dangerous jobs, etc. It's called being mature and self-actualized. You aren't the hero. Your legacy is.
And we don't encourage it anymore, right? We encourage narcissistic behavior. We encourage
You want your
to-
legacy to be, when people talk about you in college courses in 2050 or something.
I used to
don't
have
know.
that thought about myself, right? Like, oh, I want my work to live
That's
on
valuable.
after me.
Like, it's something.
And now I kind of don't care. I'm kind of like, at a certain point, I'd like to have a cup of tea, sit on the back porch, and not worry about anything.
Well, I hope my dad wasn't waiting for me to be the one to carry on the
I mean,
to,
like
to,
your
to be
funeral,
impressive.
your funeral's gonna be like sad and everything, but someone's gonna ask like, okay, where are the hors d'oeuvres? You
Oh,
know?
for sure.
Like,
And I
that's
I
just
hope
what it
that there
is.
are some
It's
good
a circle
ones.
of life, baby.
You know, little canapes.
Do we want to continue torturing ourselves with this, or
No, I'm completely
Did we
fine
talk
with-
about the eyebrows? We did.
We did.
we did?
The eyebrows are a
did.
universal sign that something bad is happening.
Either that or she's about to be non-binary.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
oh, no. Her career has at least a couple more years before she has to do that. So what happens is she does the modeling, then she complains about the modeling, does the music. She does the music. She paints the eyebrows to go through her feminist phase where she complains about misogyny. Then comes the book deal.
Right, I was
5
gonna
years
say,
later,
when's the memoir?
Then,
Yeah,
then the memoir, and then eventually what you get to the very last stop on the train tracks is when they have to pose naked at 60 and talk about how it's empowering to be ugly, old, and naked.
Awful.
That's the last stage.
I hate that so much. I hate that one.
That is literally the life cycle of the Hollywood woman.
And you have
Right?
to like begrudgingly say, well, they look really good for 60, but
Yeah.
I would rather not see this.
Either that or they have to get a ton of work done and just
Yeah.
look totally fake.
Yep. Can't wait.
Awesome.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Disco Jensen said, I was going to say something witty and informative, but cringe of the day made me reboot like Windows 95.
I was telling him yesterday, I saw this great meme. It says what is the most 90s thing you've ever seen? And it's a VHS tape explaining how to use Windows 95.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing. Like, I also watched this great video. It's
I think my mom had that.
Probably, she probably did. And it was another one like right under it was a video of like it's the top of a VCR is removed, so you can actually see how the VCR works on the inside. It's actually kind of fascinating.
I remember when this girl in my class, and this was in 7th grade, her brother got grounded because he put a grilled cheese into the VHS.
Why?
And she was so mad. She was like, I can't watch my things now.
Did he explain why he did
It like starts
He was,
playing
you know,
something.
he had some dumb kid reason. Kids are dumb.
Yeah.
And you have dumb reasons when you're a kid. Like, I remember asking my son, he would do stupid stuff, and I'd be like, why'd you do that? I don't know. And I'd be like, okay, but what's your dumb
Sometimes
reason?
you just want to see what'll
What's your dumb
happen.
reason? The other day, he threw his phone off the porch while he was talking to his friend so that his friend could see what it was like to fly.
That's kind of based.
So the phone is now broken, and also based is that now he doesn't have a phone. I'm not getting him a new one.
That's
There you
based.
go.
Based. I think that's what he wanted.
Like, you're
it may have
screwed,
been his
right?
real motive, but he's just like, I'm tired of having a phone.
He's upset about it, and now
Yeah.
he's carrying his computer all around, and I'm like, you watch it.
He's like having phone calls on his computer.
He's like, I could just talk to my friends on Discord. I'm like, for now. For now you can.
Okay, Grofty said, let's jump in 39 minutes in.
Made it 39 minutes today. Not as bad as the other day was 50 minutes. We went 50 minutes before we jumped right in.
Tori Anderson
I love it. You guys are
said-
great.
Oh, thanks. Corey Anderson said, Mary, what are all those dolls behind you from? They're all, I guess, some variation of like Sanrio dolls.
There's
Cinnamoroll right there. Mr. Fluffykins right there. Real Akuma. Hello Kitty. That one's from Brett.
Yep.
Thank you, Brett. You know, they all have their own story.
Is Little Twin Stars Sanrio, or is that different?
I never heard of that.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not a real fan.
Let's
I
do
don't
one
think
more,
that's-
and
I
then
think
let's
it's-
move on to TikTok striking.
Okay. Victor Von Derp said, from Wrecking Ball to a song about the wall.
That's what it.
She's like 30 and she's like, used to be young.
I can't, like, she hasn't even hit her Jesus year, and she's already saying she's old. Like, that's ludicrous.
So like, does she go through, like, when she's in the wrecking ball? And I don't remember the video. Does she go through a wall in the wrecking ball?
Yes.
Is that her?
She's
literally-
on top of the wrecking ball,
going
and she
through the
also
wall?
has a sledgehammer that she's like licking and like, you know,
Gyrating on the...
gyrating.
She's
and
fighting through the wall right there.
Such things.
All right, guys, let's hold off on this. We will come back. So right now, there are TikTokers, it's a thing, TikTokers that are calling for a large-scale general strike on the economy. First of all, I got very excited. Because first I thought they were saying TikTokers were going on strike. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let the TikTokers go on strike. That way we don't have to talk about them. But no, they're calling for a strike on the economy because bills are bad and jobs are stupid, and I should be allowed to just sit around in my underwear all day doing whatever I want because I was raised to be an infantile child by society. Nobody wants to accept that life sucks sometimes.
Bills are bad.
Yes, bills are bad. So in that case, don't pay them and don't pay your rent.
I've done that before, and it doesn't turn out well.
They're like, guys,
Shocking.
the economy is bad. Here's how we're
PSA.
gonna fix it. We're not gonna buy things anymore.
But
That's gonna go great.
Yeah.
So let's watch a couple of these videos in which they talk about all this stuff. It is really, really funny listening to room temperature
Also,
IQ.
I think
people
this
talk
was
about
started by a woman who literally calls herself Queen Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, clearly.
let's
Yeah,
listen
fitting.
to room temperature IQ Queen Petty talk about this. Here we go. Oh, the music's going to be copyrighted. We'll go to the second one down because that one's
Okay.
that one. This is the one that we were talking about earlier. This lady down here.
It is because some people seem to be getting confused.
Why would they be
September
confused?
1st is still the date, okay? We're still going to keep doing what we've been saying that we were going to do on September 1st.
So people seem to be thinking that I'm extremely negative about this general strike that's supposedly going on. But let me detail what they will be doing between now and September 1st. Just so you all can see the impressiveness of the organizing prowess that is taking place for this strike for September 1st. Let's go. First, you need to develop a small research team. You need to identify resources, community leaders, mutual aid at the hyperlocal, local, regional, statewide, then national level. You want to know what already
Just
exists
saying
so that you don't have
words.
to create an entirely new network to support this strike, right? You then need that communication team to create questions and research surveys. Because the next step is going to be to get people on the ground to talk with those community leaders and existing resources to see what they have, what they need, and what they hope for the future. And you're also going to want to give them the resources and communication tools to speak to their own stakeholders, the people on the ground, their clients, the people that they're helping out on a daily basis, to understand what their needs are. So those tools need to be created even before you get on the ground to meet with people individually to ask them exactly how they're going to participate in the strike and make that ask of those people. You then need to survey the places that don't have those existing
She just
resources
turned on ChatGPT.
and see what is
This
needed.
is literally this is why we created so many middle management jobs
Oh
for
my
this
goodness.
exact thought
Yes.
process. This is why what she's actually explaining to you is why corporations don't share their profits because there are just 9,000 steps
Wait,
to
I want to hear the
everything.
rest. I want to hear it.
Needed there, and getting to know the community enough to see what the supports are and who can lead that effort. Because you can't be the face of that effort. They need somebody that understands the people, the culture, the dynamics of that area. So you not only need to identify leadership, you need to give leadership training if that's what's needed in that moment. So then once you've identified hyperlocal, local, regional,
What is
statewide, and then
hyperlocal?
national movement leaders, then you need to coordinate them. And throughout that entire process, you need to be creating, cultivating, and practicing
What?
a decentralized communication system that does
They're
not
not
rely on
saying
the internet
anything!
or mobile phones.
Well, what
Because
they're
the very
saying
first
is-
thing
funniest
that the opposition
part.
is going to do is
So
cut off
she
your
had
ability.
somebody comment on this video. One question: what is a decentralized communication system? And she did a stitch with that comment, and she was like, "That is a really good question, and that is the exact question that needs to be asked right now." Because I have no fucking clue.
A decentralized communication system is like
She was like, I have no idea, and
it's
you
like
have no
CB
idea,
It's CB radio, like
and
CB
no one
radio.
has any idea what that means.
Ridiculous.
My favorite, what they're actually explaining to you is why running a company is so hard.
They're also explaining why they're going to turn this strike into a job that they're not getting paid for.
Just like,
and
they
get
should just get a
donations
job.
for. Like,
She-
just go get a damn job,
Literally,
girl.
she sounds like somebody who is ranting in a schizophrenic, manic episode on a street corner.
Yes.
Like,
There's a $20 one there from Aerotes.
okay, this says, what she just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in her rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It also seems very similar to, like, remember during COVID and everyone was like, oh, I'm going to get locked down. stay in my apartment, and then everybody else went around and was industrious in order to keep society running. That's exactly what she's saying. Everyone else has to be industrious so that she can sit on her butt.
She's
I award
actually
you no
doing
points.
a good criticism of the whole idea of a general strike here. Because she's making fun of how fucking stupid you are that you thought that was able to be accomplished in the first place.
It's just, oh, by the way, he also meant to say, I award you no points and may God have mercy on your soul.
So the woman who started this said, don't nobody show up to damn work. They can't fire everybody.
Yes, they can't.
Stop paying your damn
But
bills.
the other issue too is like already everybody isn't showing up to work. Do you ever like try and go somewhere and there's no people at the place where
we
you
were
go?
already general striking.
We
I
already
thought.
are in trouble. Like I'll go to where was I? I was in some mall in New Hampshire the other day in a Macy's, and I was like literally looking around for somebody to help me with something, and there were no people. I eventually found a security guard, and he was like, oh, I'll try and help you find somebody. And we wandered around for like 10 minutes, and he was like, I can't help you find anybody anymore. I was
That's what
alone in
makes
the
you
department
think, like,
store.
is society a simulation?
Society is in like a collapse. I feel like we are collapsing, but our society and our culture was built so well by the people who came before us. It was so well structured.
And all the
It still
competent
kinda
white
runs,
men.
there's a lot of
taking a
maintenance.
really long
Yeah.
time for it to fully collapse.
That legacy of the competent white men is still alive.
It's still happening.
For now.
Yes.
Let's listen to the lady who has at least a fair critique of why this won't work. This lady supports
Yes.
the idea, but at least just says it's not going to work,
In
guys.
practice.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Saying this because I'm in opposition of the movement, but please don't do that strike on September 1st. Please. If you haven't heard, there's a nationwide strike plan for September 1st where people stop everything. They stop going to work, they stop paying bills, they don't pay rent, etc. And in theory, I get it. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I personally work 4 jobs and have been struggling all summer just to make ends meet. It's awful. But in execution, the strike is poorly planned, poorly organized, and poorly shared. The whole purpose of a strike is that we strike until we get what we want. Right now, exactly what we want is a little unclear. We just want relief, and that's really vague. But if that's the plan, we then have to be prepared to strike for the foreseeable future, because the whole purpose of a strike is to strike, stop the production until you get what you want. And since we're here because they have the money and the power and we don't, that could take a really, really long time, a time that people are not prepared for. And we have no community safeguards to prepare for what the fallout of this strike could look like. Where do people go once they get evicted? What do people do once they lose their job? How do we afford food? How do we afford comfort? How do we afford safety? Who stops?
How do you afford safety?
How do you afford safety? Maybe you can be like the BLM people and hire your husband to do security
There
for
you go. That's
a
perfect.
whole bunch of money. That's what you do.
These resources that we need, because they certainly won't let us get it. Because again, they have the money and the power and we don't. Meaning that realistic.
They're like stopping you. Like you save the money and they just show up at your place and take the money back from you, even if you save all your money to get all of these vaguely defined things that you need. That's the problem with all this. It's all just vaguely defined. There's no actual way to implement anything they're talking about.
And best case scenario, people will do this for a few days. Then they'll end up paying a late fee for rent, might have a strike or two for work. It becomes a whole issue. They become disillusioned with the idea of striking and it impacts strikes negatively in the future. Worst case scenario, people lose their jobs, their homes, their livelihoods for nothing. And I get it. We are tired. But a strike haphazardly thrown together and then passed around on TikTok is not going to get us what we want. It's just going to get us hurt. I'm not.
They're saying that they might not actually strike on September 1st because research shows that a strike with 3.5% of the population striking has never failed before. So they're going to wait until 11 million people in the U.S. have signed on to strike. Then they'll strike.
I don't buy it.
But who are they striking
You're not going to get 11 million
against?
people to agree to not go to work, not pay their bills. I mean, they're
Not
just
send
too
their
many-
kids to
They think
schools.
everyone is like an autonomous individual with no one relying on them. Like there are too many parents and caregivers and employers out there to make this happen because they're not selfish.
Right. Also, who are they striking against?
The man.
The
man.
Capitalism.
All of us? They're striking against capitalism?
yes.
When she's like, people are going to lose their houses, I'm like, no. capitalism's like, she's like, people are going to lose their jobs. I'm like, capitalism strikes again, right?
Yes.
Like you have to be able to you have to be ready and willing to, trade your labor for money. And if you're not, somebody else will.
I mean, there are also like too many self-starting business owners in this country that would never happen either.
That's a big part.
People who rely on themselves are not going to strike.
A
Because
big
who would
part
they be
of
striking
this-
against?
Right.
Their
There's
own
a-
customers?
There's a large gap between the mindsets of people like this and people who do believe that, who want to, like, I have lots of friends who love to make money, who work multiple jobs, not because they need to, but because they want to be able to have more than they need. And that's not a mindset that's easily changed for someone, especially when they get older.
Right.
Like, that's instilled in you from a younger age, and you're usually going into that by the time you get to college. You know whether you're going to be a self-starting go-getter who wants to work multiple jobs so that they can save and own multiple homes if they can, right?
Right.
But you don't learn that in your 30s.
No. Also, it takes a long time to build a career and be able to like have a decent income.
And these people are like, I don't want to quit my job that I've had for 15 years because you want to strike for a day. Like, to stick it to the to stick it to the man vaguely.
Also, striking for a day, like, what, everyone's going to call out sick?
This is like a don'tcallthecops.org or whatever, the website people spread around. Like, here are all of the local resources you can call if you think you need to call the cops, but you actually don't. Like, you're going to call a social worker to stop.
Well, that's what Seattle just did. Seattle
armed
just
robbery.
hired a bunch of social workers to respond to 911 calls, even though, like, first responders to 911 calls who aren't cops often get stabbed.
I was say, are they going to be wearing flak jackets? They'll probably be wearing flak jackets.
Don't want to, or maybe they just won't show up.
Not worth a social worker's salary to be doing
right?
That
That's
shit.
a low salary,
I'm
right?
picturing that because my mom was a social worker. I'm picturing my mom, my small, my little.
I mean, it's ridiculous
amazing
enough that we
mom.
have petite female cops. It's ridiculous
That's
enough
weird
on its
too.
face.
I find that also to be very strange.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do?
I mean, I think that studies have found they're more likely to use lethal force because they're less able to defend
They
themselves
have no
without
other
it.
kind of force.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My mom just shows up with a clipboard. I just, what's your problem? And they're like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not good. I think that the number one thing when I watch this, when I watch a lot of stuff, when we talk about the writer's strike, at the very least has like pretty defined ideas about what they want, but it's still vaguely. The terms are still vague, right? We don't want AI. Well, what does that mean? The studio's not going to agree outright to just not use it. They want increased residuals. What does that mean? Do you even know how much these shows are making?
Right. Well, they don't know because a lot of the streaming services won't tell you. But with the AI, what they specifically want too, that's part of the writer's strike platform, is they want writers to be able to use AI so that residuals don't have to be paid to the software companies that make the AI.
Yeah. Yep. And all of it ends up falling back because nobody's watching this stuff anyways.
No, it's all garbage.
Yep.
It's most amazing.
Most of it is very, very pointless. So, guys, if you want to strike on September 1st, we're still going to be here. You should tune in for the show.
Yeah.
And
our viewership is going to increase because people aren't going to work.
Yeah. My hope is that on September 1st, our viewership goes through the roof because you guys all decided to take a day off.
Somebody in the chat said my dollar ain't shit. And ironically, one of the TikToks announcing the general strike used Oliver Anthony's song as the sound on the TikTok. And I was like, oh no, he like unintentionally inspired a bunch of these people to strike against the man or capitalism or whatever the hell it is they want to call it. I'm sure he wouldn't personally endorse or condone that behavior.
Mr. Anthony, what is your take on unions? Somebody should ask him. How do you feel about unions?
Yeah, we're just going to ask him about his party platform now.
All right, let's go to Superchats.
Disco Jensen said, happy Friday. I'm not nervous. You're nervous. Weekends like to race my ability to get comfortable and chill every time. Wait, you're nervous about the weekend?
Why would you be nervous about the weekend?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Sunday scaries before Sunday. Damn. Nikki G sent $2 without a message. Thank you. Currently wearing a Fight Everyone KO shirt. My husband has worn shirts for my events. Learning each other is the fun part. Can't have ego in love.
Well, the Fight I think that's a Kevin Owens shirt.
Oh.
Pro wrestler?
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, being married and wanting to sleep around in order to be a high-value male, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. To quote Fast and Furious, it's all about family.
There you go. See, the Fast and Furious movies are amazing.
I mean, if you want to sleep around that badly, like, why do you want to get married?
Yeah, why be married?
Well, I mean, a lot of the people who are getting married today don't take it as seriously as they're supposed to, anyways. It's not till death do us part. It's until I'm bored or I'm annoyed or you say something that bothers me. They don't actually take the contract seriously.
It's like on Seinfeld when one of the women is like, "Oh, I've been married for 10 years," and Jerry goes, "That's a long time to be married," you know,
consecutively.
Yeah, exactly.
Disco Jensen said, I'm saving and binge buying every other month, getting hard copies of the music I like. Music industry is down bad for you owning nothing.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah. Jacob Edler sent $2 without a message.
Thank you, Jacob.
Corey Anderson said, your significant other can have only one, clean fingernails or clean pores. Which do you choose?
Oh, yikes. Can you help them with the one they don't do?
No. You got to just live with it. I guess I'd rather see clean pores. It's on someone's face.
But what's under the fingernails?
Dirt from all the hard work at his job, laboring away to take care of your family.
Or
you'll never know.
Something else.
You'll never know.
Wow.
I guess you'd say clean pores then. Dollclick said, you guys are not doing patriarchy very well, Ken. The real world is forever and irrevocably messed up. Barbie.
Hollywood loves that narrative. Hollywood loves the idea of you giving up any and all hope that things could get better.
It's weird, right? In the Barbie movie, they show a patriarchy that's already been defeated in a way, and where the patriarchs have to operate in an underhanded sort of feminine way in order to continue domineering over women.
Right, all the men
that's
who
worse
are
than a patriarchy
now.
That's actually in your face, right?
It's like the secret patriarchy.
Yeah.
That'll be the next film. It'll be the secret patriarchy movie. I think that would be interesting.
Crypto patriarchy.
Crypto patriarchy. There you go.
Disco Jensen said, rich people used to commission great works of art. Now all art is by committee funded by corporations. Yeah.
I mean, that's why none of it's any interesting. That's why it's not interesting, because the most interesting things, even when you really think of Marvel and Lucasfilm, it's not like Lucasfilm was interesting when Disney bought it. It was interesting before.
Right, it was interesting when
it was smaller.
Yeah.
And Marvel Comics were what made the movies possible, and that was long before Disney got their hands on it. Once art has to be sanitized, made by a group of people in an office building to offend the least amount of people possible, it's not going to be all that interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I can't wait to add the shrieks of Ian screaming like Roberto Jr. to the next one.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's going to be great. Jimmy Bags 86 said, hi, Libby, welcome. Are you team #eyelashes matter?
Do eyelashes matter, Libby?
Eyelash for what purpose?
Do men care about eyelashes?
What is happening? I'm literally feeling it rattle my skull.
Malfunction.
Something.
If it goes again, I'll turn it off. I don't know what that was about.
Do you think that men want women to have long, dark eyelashes?
I think it depends on the man, right? I mean, every man has their thing.
It's true enough. Kind of a cop-out answer, though.
Well, I like eyelashes personally. I like them on myself. I like mascara. I like using mascara.
Yeah.
But on do I like eyelashes on men?
Do you think that men would find women with long dark eyelashes more attractive than without?
I think it depends on how they're using those eyelashes now. Like how you look at them.
You're being too nuanced.
Yeah.
Am I?
We're here for hot takes, not for nuance.
Yes,
I think a nuanced bro, but a nuanced sis.
I think eyelashes matter, but not to the point where you should get them injected or have a whole bunch of fake ones or whatever it is that people do.
Oh yeah, the fake
to
ones
themselves. They look really weird. They look like weird sort of centipedes on your face. I find them creepy. Also, I don't want glue near my eyes.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't like the glue. There's reasons that, I don't have contacts because I don't want to stick my fingers in my eyes.
Yep, I can't do contacts.
I can't handle any, eyes are sort of what is it they say on The Office?
Precious
Eyes are the
commodities.
groin of the face.
Yeah. I can't touch my eye.
I don't want any stuff around. Yeah.
I'm always gonna remember Robert California saying, "Everything is sex."
And everybody has now officially talked me out of LASIK. Like
Well, I
Oh,
did
really?
that.
I had a friend who did that and it worked out. Did
And-
you do that?
I was saying
Sarah also told me it was
I
a
did
bad
not get
idea.
LASIK. But I said, there have been situations where people get LASIK and they screw it up so that your eyes don't take in red light anymore and you become extremely depressed.
Oh, ouchie.
And people have killed themselves after that malfunction.
I never want any medical, I just don't want, just stay away.
That's a good
stuff's
general
working.
rule.
I'm healthy. As long as
Yeah.
I'm healthy, just keep your knives.
If it's broke, also don't fix it,
Depends on how broken it is. Like compound fractures, get your compound fracture fixed.
One of my favorite things that I just noticed early on when I was younger was seeing ads that were for discount LASIK eye surgery. And I'm like, if there's one thing you spend full price on, if you're gonna, it's
They're
Oh,
your
like,
eyes.
buy one, get one free.
No, that's literally what some of the ads would say, right? It's like half off LASIK eye surgery. I'm like, I want to pay full price. Can I pay full price? I don't want the doctor to come and be like, well, this one's kind of pro bono. We're just gonna.
I had my wisdom teeth out, and the doctor was like, "Okay, well, your insurance only covers this much anesthesia," and I'm like, "I don't care. I'll pay you for the rest."
Yes.
Just knock if you're ripping teeth out of my face.
Yeah.
I don't want to be awake.
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
Oh, it was awful.
That's disturbing.
And I paid extra. I was like, just take my money.
Yes.
I haven't gotten my wisdom teeth taken out yet because I feel like maybe it's just a big racket.
Only do it if you have pain and it's pushing your teeth all together,
Right.
and then you can't use your mouth properly.
I haven't felt any discomfort,
Well, then
so
you're
I'm just not
good.
going to do it.
Don't do it if you don't have to.
Yeah.
My teeth were getting pushed around. I mean, it was like a New York City subway in there. It was bad.
I mean, it's just crazy that your insurance said only this amount.
Right, that's what they do.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
That's why the government should pay for it.
and then they would give you even less anesthesia than the insurance company.
I don't have an opinion on universal health care, but I definitely understand where people are coming from.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. T-Bone said, join Tim's Discord to watch and participate in a new show launching after PCC today at 5 p.m. Eastern. That is Discord community based.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I didn't know about anything like this.
Awesome, guys.
Okay.
Keep it up. There's a lot of camaraderie in the Discord and on the
Discord seems pretty cool.
Yeah, even in our chat, there's a lot of camaraderie, and a lot of the people are, they know each other. They look for each other when the show starts. So
Well, Timcast, the whole thing has such a great vibe.
yeah.
Yeah. Jacob Edler said, TikTok strikers are first in line for the metaverse.
Yes, go there.
We don't want you here.
There are
go
no
over
bills
there.
in your metaverse apartment.
I'm surprised we haven't seen that yet, where it's like actors on strike in the metaverse protesting out front
You're
front
giving
of,
them ideas.
Warner Brothers.
You're giving them, they're
When the
gonna
lockdowns kick in again, that's what you're gonna see.
It's gonna be. I'm protesting in the metaverse chapter of this company. It's gonna be really depressing. Ugh.
Shane H. Wilder said, I just had a brain aneurysm listening to that effing video and died. In lieu of flowers, please send donations to a Catholic charity. Pay yo damn bills.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. It's always a good idea.
To be fair, there have been times when I just didn't pay my bills because I couldn't afford to. I didn't even need to
I've
strike.
done that for sure.
I didn't need to strike. I just couldn't afford to pay them.
Yeah.
There just literally wasn't enough money at times in my life in my bank account to be able to cover it.
I've had that happen multiple times.
We didn't have to make it about us.
It was okay. You know, sometimes you call, you get a little extension. Sometimes you just sit without electricity until you get paid.
I've had
I
to
have
do
done
that.
that.
I've had
It's
to do that.
okay.
I remember the last time that happened to me, it was 2 days until I had to, but it ended up being a problem because in that apartment complex, you can't, it was a break of your lease to not have electricity. So they're like, if you don't get
That's
it
like if
turned
you're on house arrest, you can't let your electricity lapse.
So they said, you have to get it turned on somehow or else we'll evict you. We love landlords here.
Get
though.
it turned on somehow, aka pay for it.
Pay for it. You have to find a way to pay for it. It doesn't matter. We love landlords here. We love landlords.
They're like, we don't care how you get the money.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
just make sure you pay. Just make sure you pay it.
I've been evicted. I've sat in the dark. I've worked 3 jobs at a time.
Well, this lady worked 4, so she knows
Whatever.
more.
It's okay. You can exist It's all right.
I mean, I really
And it's
do
nothing to
believe
be
that-
ashamed of either. Like, if you can't pay for your shit, like sometimes you can't pay for your shit.
Then they go and get their Starbucks coffee, and that's why they can't buy a house, Mary.
Let's get Dave Ramsey in here. Disco Jensen sent us $5 without a message. Thank you.
One of my favorite Babylon Bee memes recently was like, man makes Dave Ramsey's head explode by buying his book with a credit card.
It's just like such dumb financial advice to tell people not to have credit cards.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Like,
I
how
can
did
see
anyone
why you
fall for
don't
that?
want a credit card, but like,
If you're stupid, don't get a credit card.
if you're going to be an idiot,
Yeah.
I did run up a substantial amount of credit card debt when I was sent. That used to be they would approve you for credit cards, and they would just like send you a credit card in the mail, and then
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, just call and approve it, and you have this." I went into substantial debt over that, but you know, I also don't really regret it because like I dealt with it, and now it's over, and
You can't do a lot of things without having credit.
I had a lot of fun with it. So
I have ended the poll, ladies and gentlemen. I asked, are you watching Ahsoka? And 51% of you say no. 33% of you say, I hate Disney. And just 14% of you say yes. So there you have it. Disney Star Wars, how far they have fallen.
Waffle Sensei said, "Women are jealous of our eyelash game, boys."
Yeah, we're just born with it.
They
right?
really are.
It's all those pictures where it says like women with 37 different hair care products and the hair just looks like dregs. It says a guy after washing his hair with
'cause,
body wash. It's just a perfect.
I had a
name.
friend
hair is
tell me-
naturally thicker.
Yeah.
is that true?
Yeah.
I had a friend who was telling me, why is your hair always so frizzy? Like, you should use some products. And I'm like, there's like 5 products in my hair and it's still frizzy. Like, I can't fix it.
Because there's more of it.
I just can't fix it.
Yeah. It's volume. There's a lot of it.
No, I think it's just that. I just think it's the air. Because it's
Out
not
here.
frizzy in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, so like when you
True,
go to Las
true.
Vegas, it's not frizzy, but
That's
here,
correct.
it's. I mean, is it the humidity?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Like, my hair's frizzy, whatever. What are you
Yeah.
going to do?
Nothing wrong with that.
Can't fix it.
High Voltage 75 said, "Marriage today isn't seen as the sacred bond and lifelong commitment it once was. Has it become an outdated concept as society becomes more secular?"
Yeah, we got the government involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the government was involved in marriage before the society became more secular.
yeah, because the government,
Because the government
was religious.
Was religious, yeah. So I don't think that's really the root problem there.
They just don't
it's the
see it as
individuals
something-
themselves not having a real concept of what it's about.
This is where Serge comes in and talks about Ronald Reagan and no-fault divorce and and all that.
Let's get fresh and fit up in here
Let's
to
do it.
tell us about it. Victor Von Derp said, "I came to face down during spinal surgery.
Ouch. Oh.
My foot was moving to the music. Nurse leaned down and looked into my eyes, said, 'He's awake,' then darkness again until the recovery room. Fun times."
Awful.
I
Oh,
never
my
woke
goodness.
up in any of my surgeries. I've had multiple surgeries on my ears, on my right ear. I never woke up in any of those.
It's so
I
terrifying.
have woken up during like serious dental surgery, not pleasant at all.
That
but
sounds
then
awful.
but then you're like knocked back out again in loopy. So not good times. Not good times.
When I was, I delivered by C-section because my son was breech, and they gave me Demerol, and I had said, please don't give me Demerol because like I did plenty of drugs. I know from Demerol, I did not want Demerol, and I ended up throwing up afterwards, and I was throwing up for 8 hours, and I had hypothermia.
Were you allergic to it? Did you have an allergic reaction?
No,
Or
it just
too
it just
too
never
strong?
reacted well.
In true
to
doctor
it.
fashion, they were like, "We're just gonna not listen.
We're just gonna give you Demerol. We're just gonna do that.
It's like
Yeah.
I used to. I too had many phases with lots of drugs, and yeah, there was plenty of times with high doses of Dilaudid where I would just throw up and then be kind of comatose but awake for.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not great.
It's not what you're looking for. Turns out.
It's not. You're not meant for it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do drugs. I've turned this into a PSA.
Shane H. Wilder said, "When I had my wisdom teeth removed, I did it without anesthesia, but I
Oh,
also
my
have a high
goodness.
pain tolerance, except for paper cuts. F paper cuts."
Somebody
Wow, okay.
should go and check this man
hardcore.
to make sure he's human.
Yeah.
Just saying. Check to make sure he's human. All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and would you subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Thank you very much for doing that, guys. Libby, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
today.
guys. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Let everyone know where they can find you.
I am at Libby Emmons on Twitter, and you can check out what we're doing at thepostmillennial.com. You can subscribe at thepostmillennial.com/subscribe. You can subscribe to us on Twitter. I think we have a YouTube now. That's interesting. And also we are at humanevents.com, so you can check out all the great work we're doing.
And you guys have launched a pop culture show over there at the Post Millennial, right?
Yeah, we just noticed that.
Yeah, it's new. It's new. We're still, working out the kinks, but yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
Working on
Go.
that.
It's called Pop Culture Warriors, I believe.
Warriors,
Yes.
yeah.
You guys should go check that out.
And these guys, they had their own show prior to, and they wanted to bring it over to our platform, so we're doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on Twitter or X. That is also Mary Archived. One more super chat from 1,000 Foot Deep End. Thanks for a super fun show today. Have a great weekend, everyone. Hashtag hostage crisis.
Hostage crisis is where they super chat and try to keep us on air for as long as possible. So I will have to hurry up here. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Pop Culture. No, it's at Brett Dasovic on Instagram and Twitter. This show, Pop Culture Crisis, is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to the audio version of this podcast, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter/X at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We have one more from High Voltage 75.
You owe us 10 minutes.
We are over 10 minutes today, my friend, and if the show is expected to at least go 2 hours most days, we have paid our debt back to you guys. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then.
Deuces.
Later.